Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. My medicine cauldron can automatically pill refining. Chapter 1. Emperor Qianyuanzong. Outer Sect Disciple Deacon outside the hall. Shuu Fan took the 2 spirit stones just distributed by Sect and rushed towards the house he lived in. At this time, a tall figure walked towards him, seeing Shuu Fan's hurried footsteps, but he didn't dodge it. Boom. Without paying attention, Shuu Fan bumped into him head-on. "Are you looking for death? Do you walk without eyes?" angrily shouted. Shuu Fan looked up, his heart skipped a beat. There was an accident, and he called it unlucky. "Oh, it's senior brother Zhou. This senior is named Zhou Shulin, and he is a disciple of Tiananmen Outer Sect. It is said that the cultivation base has reached the 6th level of qi refining, and he will advance to the inner sect in the promotion competition a month later." On weekdays, Zhou Shulin was domineering, and often bullied his fellow disciples, which was why Shuu Fan called out bad luck when he saw that it was him who bumped into him. "Senior brother Zhou, I'm sorry, I was in a hurry to go back to meditate and practice, so I didn't look at the road. Please forgive me." Shuu Fan cupped hands and apologized. Zhou Shulin stopped in his tracks, with a bad expression on his face. He wanted to teach Shuu Fan a lesson, but he looked at the deacon hall in front of him, and finally held back. "Humph." Zhou Shulin snorted coldly and passed Shuu Fan directly. Shuu Fan frowned, didn't stay long, and continued walking towards the house he lived in. It's been 3 years, and it's only on the 4th floor of the qi refining realm. It seems like a piece of trash, waiting to be expelled from Qianyuanzong. After walking a few steps, I heard Zhou Shulin muttering. Shuu Fan's face was extremely ugly. Even though it was several meters away, Zhou Shulin still heard all of Zhou Shulin's words. Shuu Fan clenched his fists, with a gloomy face, and cursed in his heart, "You dog, I like to talk about people's length after people's backs. Then you will see me." Shuu Fan quickened his pace and walked towards his own house. Back in the house, Shuu Fan closed the door, took out the 2 spirit stones he just received from the storage bag, then raised his hand and slapped himself hard on the head. Immediately, the dimly lit room in front of him fell into darkness, and Shuu Fan suddenly felt that his eyes went dark, and his whole body was in the void. Soon, Shuu Fan's eyes lit up, and the bed, table and chairs around him were all gone. It disappeared, and suddenly changed to another place. There was no surprise on Shuu Fan's face, and even a look of anticipation. This mysterious space suddenly appeared after Shuu Fan came to this world. Shuu Fan is not an original resident of this world, he traveled from the Earth. A month ago, Shuu Fan, who had just finished the college entrance examination, wanted to break his own for the first time and become a real man, but accidentally drank himself to death, and then crossed directly. When he opened his eyes, he found that he had traveled to this world called Chaos Continent. Shuu Fan's physical body did not travel over. He only had a strand of soul that traveled to this world, attached to an outer sect disciple of Qianyuanzong. Coincidentally, this outer sect disciple was also named Shuu Fan, which saved him the trouble of changing his name. Calling Chaos Continent is not a modern civilization, but a world similar to ancient times. Ordinary people can practice Taoism, gain incomparably tyrannical power, fly into the sky, escape from the ground, move mountains and fill the sea, without any problem. To put it simply, Chaos Continent is a world of cultivating immortals. Qianyuanzong is such a sect of cultivating immortals. Shuu Fan was very excited when he first crossed over, but he was dumbfounded when he fully accepted the memory of the original owner. Although Qianyuanzong is not big, but there are some disciples of outer sect, inner disciple needless to say, that is naturally the hope of sect. Strictly speaking, the outer sect disciples are not the official disciples of Qianyuanzong, but the reserved disciples of Qianyuanzong. Every 3 years, Emperor Qianyuan would search for mortals with cultivation qualifications from all over the Qin dynasty and bring them to the outer sect, and give them a basic martial arts cheat book for practice. 3 years later, the sect will hold the inner sect qualification competition. These outer sect disciples are only eligible to participate in the inner sect promotion competition if they have reached the 5th level of qi refining realm within 3 years. Only those who have passed the inner sect's promotion competition can be regarded as real Qianyuanzong disciples. The original owner, Shuu Fan, was one of the many mortals brought up the mountain by the elder of Qianyuanzong 3 years ago. After 3 years of training, Shuu Fan has reached the 4th level of the Qi refining realm, which is the distance from the inner sect's promotion to the competition. There is only 1 level difference in qualifications. Although it was only a small realm, Shuu Fan was unable to break through for a long time. Now there is only 1 month before the 3-year inner sect promotion competition. According to sect regulations, if Shuu Fan has not reached the 5th level of Qi refining after 1 month, then he will lose the qualification to advance to the competition and be directly kicked out of Qianyuanzong. Even the outer sect couldn't stay any longer. This is why Zhou Shulin said just now that he was waiting to be expelled from the sect. Shuu Fan shook his head, put the information behind him, and walked straight forward. This mysterious space is not big, about 10 square meters, in a 3-dimensional shape. There is no one else in the whole space except Shuu Fan. Not far in front of Shuu Fan, there was a black medicinal cauldron lying on the ground, with a raging flame burning underneath. However, Shuu Fan could not feel any temperature. He walked up to the black medicine cauldron, pointed towards the black medicine cauldron in the void, and the black medicine cauldron immediately opened the lid, revealing the blue juice inside. The juice refined from the spirit tooth grass is still intact, and the snow fox blood can be added to it to make a pill. Shuu Fan couldn't hide his joy on his face. This black medicinal cauldron comes with the mysterious space. Half a month ago, Shuu Fan discovered the effect of this black medicinal cauldron. So, I got a pill recipe, and started refining the medicine pill according to the ingredients on the pill recipe. However, because he didn't have enough spirit stones, and finally lacked a taste of snow fox blood, he was forced to suspend. As soon as Sect released the spirit stones, Shuu Fan rushed back to check the juice that had been refined before. Seeing that the juice had not been refined and burned dry, Shuu Fan immediately turned around and slapped himself again. His eyes went dark, then brightened, and reappeared in the own room. This is not because Shuu Fan is sick or self-abuses to slap himself, but to enter the mysterious space requires Shuu Fan to slap himself. Shuu Fan doesn't know why this weird method works. Shuu Fan opened the door and walked out of the room, walking towards the sect's breeding hall. The time in the mysterious space is synchronized with the time in the outside world, so Shuu Fan doesn't have to worry about time problems. Not long after, Shuu Fan came to the breeding hall. Snow fox is one of the lowest level demonic beasts in Chaos Continent. Although they are low-level demonic beasts, the blood on their bodies is one of the necessary materials for refining low-level medicine pills. So basically every sect will keep some in case of emergencies. Qianyuanzong is no exception, also has a large group of snow foxes, and sells them to everyone in Qianyuanzong, including outer sect disciples. The gate of the hall was unguarded, so Shuu Fan walked in. As soon as you enter the Great Hall, you will see a service window similar to the Earth Bank. There is a young man sitting in the window, looking at the clothes. He is also an outer sect disciple. Shuu Fan glanced at it, but didn't see through the opponent's cultivation base. He knew that the opponent's cultivation base was an outer sect disciple who surpassed the 5th level of Qi refining. Immediately, with a serious expression on his face, he walked forward, cupped his hands, and said to the person inside, "This senior, I want to buy a snow fox, but where can I buy it?" The young man inside glanced at Shuu Fan, seeing that his cultivation base was only on the 4th level of Qi refining, and said coldly, "You want to buy snow fox?" Shuu Fan nodded. "Yes, senior brother. What's the use of you, an outer sect disciple at the 4th level of Qi refining, buying a snow fox? You are not qualified to refine medicine pill. Could it be that you want to kill a fox for meat?" The young man's tone was very unkind, and he looked at Shuu Fan like a prisoner. "Do your shit, Daddy has to take care of buying a snow fox." He looks down on Daddy. "What about an outer sect disciple on the 4th floor of Qi refining? Who dare you not be an outer sect disciple?" Shuu Fan cursed frantically in his heart. Although I was upset in my heart, I naturally couldn't curse out of my mouth. Shuu Fan still said politely, "Senior brother is really amazing. He is worthy of being a disciple who will be promoted to the inner sect, and he can see his cultivation base at a glance." That's right, the younger brother did not buy the snow fox to kill the fox to get blood to refine medicine, but it was not for the meat either, and there were other purposes. Quote, the young man who Shuu Fan said these words was so happy that he even looked at him with less eyes. especially those disciples who are about to advance to the inner sect, the entire Qianyuanzong outer sect disciples, who doesn't want to advance to the inner sect. Although young, although the cultivation base has reached the 5th level of qi refining, and has the qualifications to participate in the promotion of the inner sect, it is naturally impossible to say that it is 100% advanced to the inner sect. The young man himself is well aware of this, but the competition is about to start. Who doesn't want to win a good fortune? Besides, who in the world doesn't like to hear flattery? Is there any other use? Excuse my brother's ignorance, besides taking blood to refine medicine pill and taking meat for appetite, what is the use of this snow fox? The young man asked puzzledly. This, Shuu Fan showed an unspeakable expression. Seeing this, the young man became even more curious, and suddenly his tone became colder. If the younger brother doesn't say anything, I'm afraid the older brother won't be able to sell the snow fox to you. Ah, Shuu Fan screamed, then gritted his teeth and made a shameful expression, and said, Brother, don't blame me. In fact, I want to buy a snow fox for a younger sister to please her. After finishing speaking, he pretended to be embarrassed. Shuu Fan is not an idiot. Anyway, this kind of thing cannot be proved, so he is not afraid of being deceived. When the young man heard it, he suddenly realized something. So that's the case. Since it's a good thing for the younger brother, the older brother will naturally not hinder it. Don't worry, I'll go and catch a snow fox for the younger brother. The young man gave me a look that I understood, said, stood up and walked back. So positive. Shuu Fan sighed with emotion, and then hurriedly called to the young man, Brother, please stop. What else is there? The young man turned his head and asked in confusion. I hope that senior brother will catch a snow fox that is covered in snow and has no other hairs, and I hope senior brother will take care of it. According to the pill recipe records, the more upright the Shuihu's bloodline, the more Cheng Dan will be. Junior brother is really careful. Okay, brother, I promise not to disappoint junior brother. Wait a while, I will go back soon. The young man laughed loudly and disappeared through the back door of the window. After about 5 or 6 minutes, the young man came back with an animal about the size of a puppy in his hand. Shuu Fan took a closer look, and found that it was exactly the snow fox he wanted. Looking at the snow fox in the young man's hands, it was completely white without any stray hairs. As Shuu Fan expected, the quality of the raised demonic beasts would definitely not be bad, especially this low-level demonic beasts. No, brother is here for you. The young man lifted the snow fox in his hand into the air. Thank you, brother, it's really helpful. Shuu Fan thanked the young man with cupped hands. The young man waved his hand and said nonchalantly, You are welcome, junior brother. Shuihu will give you 1 piece of low-grade spirit stones. While speaking, he handed the snow fox to Shuu Fan through the window. Shuu Fan took the snow fox, took out 2 low-grade spirit stones from the storage bag, and handed them to the young man. Brother, these are 2 low-grade spirit stones, one is for buying the snow fox, and the other is for the hard work of the senior brother. It makes sense for Shuu Fan to do this, he will use demonic beasts to refine medicine pill in the future. Getting along with this guy now will make buying demonic beasts a lot easier in the future. The young man showed hesitation. Seeing this, Shuu Fan knew the young man's scruples in his heart, so he continued, Brother, please rest assured, you know this matter and I know it. God knows it and the earth knows it. No one else will know. When the young man heard it, he smiled knowingly. In that case, I will accept it. Seeing Shuihu in his hands, Shuu Fan was still thinking about going back to the mysterious space to refine the medicine pill, so he stopped talking nonsense with the young man, put his cupped hands on his hands, and left the feeding hall. Back in the house, Shuu Fan immediately locked the door, then slapped himself, and entered the mysterious space. Walking to the black medicinal cauldron, Shuu Fan clicked, and the lid of the black medicinal cauldron was opened. Shuu Fan took out a dagger from his bosom, and slashed at Shuihu's neck. Shuihu screamed again and again, and blood flowed down into the black medicine cauldron, mixing with the blue juice. After a while, Shuihu's blood ran dry, and Shuu Fan closed the lid of the black medicinal cauldron again. There is no need to operate the black medicine cauldron to refine the medicine pill, just follow the steps of the pill recipe and throw in all the ingredients, and the remaining black medicine cauldron will automatically refine the medicine pill. Hey, Now we're waiting for Cheng Dan. According to Shuu Fan's estimate, it will take about half an hour to become a Dan. Throwing the snow fox corpse in his hand, Shuu Fan sat down on the ground, ready to meditate here and wait for the medicine pill to be refined. Running Qianyuanzong's rubbish mentality, the speed of absorbing spiritual qi is much faster than that of the outside world. The intensity of spiritual qi in the mysterious space is about twice that of the outside world. Feeling a steady stream of spiritual qi pouring into his body, Shuu Fan was pleasantly surprised. It's just that he was pleasantly surprised within a few minutes, and he wilted like an eggplant beaten by frost. The spiritual qi absorbed into the body wandered around the body, and when it finally reached Dantian, it had already dissipated without a trace. Shuu Fan let out a sigh of regret, opened his eyes, and showed a wry smile. Hey. This is the result of poor qualifications. The original owner's cultivation aptitude is very poor, it can be described as waste material. Although the speed of absorbing spiritual qi by oneself is not much different from that of a well-qualified cultivator. But in terms of retention, it is a world of difference. A well-qualified cultivator, the spiritual qi absorbed into the body can survive in Dantian, which is very huge. When Dantian transforms into own magic power, it can also achieve a conversion ratio of 30 to 40%. As for those cultivators with poor aptitude, such as Shuu Fan, there are very few spiritual qi absorbed that can stay in Dantian. When Dantian transforms into magic power, it is even more pitiful. It is estimated that there is only a few tenths of a chance to eventually become own magic power. Although the practice was difficult, Shuu Fan did not give up. He closed his eyes and continued to meditate. Time passed by, and when half an hour came, Shuu Fan opened his eyes and woke up from meditation. I can't imagine that cultivation base has not made any progress after half an hour of cultivation. Feeling the magic power in his body, Shuu Fan shook his head and sighed. Then, looking at the black medicine cauldron, seeing that the flames under the black medicine cauldron had disappeared, Shuu Fan turned his worries into joy, which was a sign of the completion of refining the medicine pill. He got up and walked quickly to the black medicine cauldron, stretched his hand towards the black medicine cauldron, the lid opened, and more than 10 thumb-sized brown medicine pills appeared in Shuu Fan's eyes. Ha ha, the qi refining pill is complete. Shuu Fan was overjoyed, and stretched out his hand to grab the black medicine cauldron, and the dozen or so qi refining pills flew over immediately and landed in Shuu Fan's hands. The appearance is round and smooth, without any flaws. This is a top-level qi refining pill. Count carefully. Enough. There are as many as 18. Ha ha. With these 18 qi refining pills, not to mention the 5th level of qi refining, even the 7th and 8th levels of qi refining are not difficult. Shuu Fan burst out laughing. At this moment, there was a throbbing in his heart. Shuu Fan knew that someone outside was looking for him. He quickly put away the qi refining pill, slapped himself, and left the mysterious space. As soon as he appeared in the house, he heard the bang bang knock on the wooden door. Shuu Fan, come out quickly. Wong Deacon summons all outer sect disciples. Zhou Shulin's voice sounded outside the house. Wong Deacon called, it seems that there is something important to announce. Shuu Fan muttered, opened the door and walked out. Zhou Shulin at the door stared at Shuu Fan with a cold face. The entire outer sect is the most inked by you. The cultivation base is not high, and the shelf is not small. Zhou Shulin snorted coldly, speaking in a bad tone. Shuu Fan was taken aback. Did everyone else go? He looked around, but there was no one there. It seems that I entered the mysterious space and missed the Deacon Great Hall. Although Shuu Fan was apologetic, Zhou Shulin's attitude really disgusted him. So, he said indifferently, I am practicing meditation, but I am too addicted to it. Besides, isn't senior brother Zhou still here? Zhou Shulin's complexion changed drastically. He didn't expect Shuu Fan to dare to contradict him. He wanted to teach him a lesson, but he thought of Wong Deacon calling everyone for a meeting. In the end, he just cast a heavy glance at Shuu Fan, stopped talking, turned around and walked towards the Deacon Great Hall. Seeing Zhou Shulin's back, Shuu Fan sneered, closed the door, and followed. Following Zhou Shulin to the Deacon Great Hall, it was already full of people. According to Shuu Fan's rough estimate, there were about 50 people. The disciples from the entire outer sect basically came. An old man was sitting upright above the great hall, his eyes were slightly closed, and he looked like an old god. That old man is none other than the outer sect's deacon Wong Tiana. Shuu Fan didn't squeeze in, just stood at the back, he could hear clearly anyway, no matter where he stood. On the other hand, Zhou Shulin walked briskly to Wong Tiana's side, possessed himself and whispered a few words in his ear, and then stood aside without saying a word. After a while, Wong Tiana opened his slightly closed eyes, and swept the crowd with deep eyes. When he passed by Shuu Fan, deliberately stayed for a while. Shuu Fan suddenly felt as if he was sitting on the tip of a needle, feeling uncomfortable, and he knew in his heart that Wong Tiana must be watching him. It's really unlucky, every time there is a meeting, I have to look at myself a few more times, isn't it just that I forgot to say hello when I started? It's been a long time since a dignified deacon is so stingy. Shuu Fan sighed in his heart, this Wong Tiana had a prejudice against him, and this time he was late again, he thought he would beat him hard for a while. But Shuu Fan didn't care too much, at most he was verbally reprimanded. But to Shuu Fan's surprise, Wong Tiana didn't say anything this time, but went directly to the topic. After Wong Tiana looked around at the crowd, he spoke loudly. All outer sect disciples, you are all old people who have been in the classroom for 3 years. There is only one thing to call everyone here this time. I think everyone has guessed it. After finishing speaking, he paused deliberately, as if he wanted to discuss with the dozens of outer sect disciples. Sure enough, the crowd appeared to discuss the purpose of this event. Wong Tian was very satisfied with everyone's reaction, and after a pause of more than 10 seconds, he continued, yes, as everyone guessed, the intersect promotion competition will be held in a month's time. That's a chance for you outer sect disciples. A chance for a carp to leap over the dragon's gate. Quote. Speaking of this, although many outer sect disciples had expected it, they still couldn't restrain their inner excitement and anticipation. In order to allow more people to attack the inner sect, Sect has decided to relieve you of all chores this month, so that you can practice with peace of mind. As soon as the words came out, Great Hall was in an uproar, some were happy, some were disdainful, and some had nothing to do with them. But Shuu Fan sneered in his heart, exempting 1 month's labor service is useless, 3 years can't hit the 5th level of chi refining, how can it be possible to rely on this last month to break through? Then, Wong Tiana said some meaningless things and asked everyone to go back to practice. Shuu Fan was the last to come, but the fastest to leave. Since he doesn't have to do chores for a month, he can just practice hard in the mysterious space and sprint to the 5th level of chi refining realm. Sitting above, Wong Tiana looked at Shuu Fan's leaving back, with anger shining in his eyes. Zhou Shulin on the side keenly grasped Wong Tiana's dissatisfaction with Shuu Fan, and was secretly happy, it seemed that his chance to express himself had come. Back in the room, Shuu Fan couldn't wait to slap himself, and disappeared into the room, appearing in the mysterious space. Shuu Fan sat cross-legged, took out the chi refining pill from his bosom, and opened his mouth to swallow it. Immediately, the chi refining pill fell into his stomach and turned into a powerful energy. Shuu Fan put away his body and spirit, and began to refine this powerful energy. For the next week, except for occasionally showing his face to the outside world, he stayed in the mysterious space and took chi refining pills to meditate. The energy provided by 1 chi refining pill can allow Shuu Fan to refine for 2 days. After a week, Shuu Fan took 3 chi refining pills. Although his aptitude is poor, under the powerful medicinal power of chi refining pill, he forcibly raised his own cultivation base to the peak of chi refining level 4, which is only 1 step away from his goal of chi refining level 5. On this day, after refining the medicinal power in his body, he got up and went out to breathe. Slapped himself, Shuu Fan appeared in his room. It was just when he arrived outside that he heard someone calling him outside. Shuu Fan pushed the door and went out, and there was a young man standing at the door, it was Zhou Shulin. Shuu Fan was a little surprised, why did Zhou Shulin come to find him? Did something happen to Sect again? Want to summon disciples? As for Zhou Shulin coming to find him, Shuu Fan knew that nothing good would happen. Firstly, the two of them were not familiar with each other, and they had little friendship at ordinary times, and they would not communicate at all. Second, it is now the sprint stage to advance to the inner sect competition. Labor is exempted this month. Everyone is busy practicing, so who will be free? Third, Shuu Fan has been hiding in the mysterious space for a week to practice, so naturally he didn't cause trouble. In the end, no matter whether it was public or private or otherwise, Zhou Shulin should not come to him. Hee, junior brother Chen, good morning. Seeing Shuu Fan coming out, Zhou Shulin forced a smile and said. Seeing that the other party's smile was false, Shuu Fan sneered inwardly. Looks like the Woods are going to murder themselves this week. Since the other party was uneasy and kind, there was no need for Shuu Fan to give him a good face, so he said in a neutral tone. It's getting late, what time is it, where does senior brother Zhou start? Zhou Shulin was almost teased by Shuu Fan's words. Past. His face immediately turned cold, and he said in a bad tone, HMPH, my brother called you out of kindness, but I didn't expect to make a mockery. I really don't know what to do. Oh, really? Shuu Fan glanced at Zhou Shulin with disdain, and said, I don't remember having such a good relationship with senior brother Zhou. Don't talk nonsense, if you have something to say, it's okay. Good, very good. Zhou Shulin was so angry that he couldn't refute it. I also wanted to mess with Shuu Fan when I came back this time, and then go to Wong Deacon to claim credit, but I didn't expect Shuu Fan to be so tough. The voices of the two attracted many outer sect disciples to watch. Seeing that one of them was Zhou Shulin, they gathered around to watch from the very beginning. After a while, dozens of people gathered. Seeing too many people, Zhou Shulin didn't dare to do anything, so he said coldly, HMPH, don't be arrogant, I am here this time to arrange chores for you under the order of Deacon. Hurry up. Arrange your mother, which Deacon? Can you tell Daddy? Shuu Fan cursed directly, interrupting Zhou Shulin's words. Last time Wang Tiana made it very clear that all outer sect disciples will be exempted from chores for this month. You mentally retarded actually said that you were ordered by Deacon to let me do chores, isn't that clearly trying to mess with me? When Zhou Shulin heard Shuu Fan scolding him, he became furious, and he was about to smash Shuu Fan with his fist. Shuu Fan didn't dodge either, he stood straight on the spot, snorted coldly, and said, Senior brother Zhou, are you going to break Sect's rules? Shocked, Zhou Shulin stopped the fist that was hitting Shuu Fan. There are regulations in Sect that fights are not allowed in the same family. If the penalty is light, all benefits will be suspended, and if it is severe, it may be directly obliterated. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Zhou Shulin didn't have the guts to challenge the door rules. If it was in a private place where no one was around, the beating would be done. Afterwards, he pleaded not guilty and escaped punishment easily and happily. But now that there are so many onlookers, with dozens of pairs of eyes staring at him, he will be the one who is unlucky when he hits this punch. Seeing that Zhou Shulin was really frightened by himself, Shuu Fan didn't stop there, and continued, at that time, Wong Deacon made it very clear that everyone will be free within this month. Use it for chores. Now you are actually saying to pass the order of the Deacon. I want to see if you are falsely passing the order of the Deacon or there are other outer sect deacons who are picking the martial king Deacon. Quote. After speaking, Shuu Fan looked at Zhou Shulin with a sneer. The entire outer sect is just a deacon, and it was made clear and clear at the conference. This week, Shulin even used the name of a deacon to punish himself. Others might have been fooled by fright, but who is Shuu Fan? A person who came from time travel would naturally not be caught by Zhou Shulin with a single word. At this moment, Zhou Shulin was sweating when he heard Shuu Fan's words. If this matter really got into trouble with Wong Deacon, he would definitely be overwhelmed and walk around. Wong Deacon doesn't care about the process, no matter what Zhou Shulin's starting point is, he only cares about the result. Maybe I heard it wrong. Zhou Shulin hesitated, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and continued, I'll go back and ask for clarification. After speaking, I want to leave. However, Shuu Fan was not prepared to let him go so easily. Wait, brother Zhou left like this. Zhou Shulin's eyes widened, and he suppressed the anger in his heart and said, what else does junior brother Shuu want? Could it be that he still wants to teach me a lesson? This actually is not, I just want to know which deacon my brother is ordered by. Shuu Fan's tone was still flat. Zhou Shulin's face changed drastically, and it took a while before he said in a deep voice, what do you want? Shuu Fan smiled slightly, of course it's compensation. Compensation. Yeah, give me 2 spirit stones and it's over. 2 spirit stones. You don't want to grab them. Zhou Shulin shouted. 2 spirit stones are worth a month's salary. Shuu Fan is really whimsical. Shuu Fan didn't bargain with Zhou Shulin, and said directly, okay, then let's ask Wong Deacon, who asked me to do chores. Hearing this, Zhou Shulin couldn't help but tremble, finally gritted his teeth, took out 2 spirit stones from his pocket, and threw them to Shuu Fan. Forget you, junior brother Shuu, what you do today will definitely pay off in the future. Zhou Shulin left a cruel sentence, and left with unwillingness and anger. HMPH, if you still want to mess with me with such a scheming trick, go ahead and dream of spring and autumn. Shuu Fan said something with disdain. After finishing speaking, he didn't go out to breathe again, and went back to his own room, and entered the mysterious space to take chi refining pills to practice. Now that I have 2 more spirit stones, I can buy all the materials for the next batch of chi refining pills. Now the primary goal is to upgrade the cultivation base to the 5th level of chi refining and get the qualification to advance to the competition. A day passed in the blink of an eye, night fell, and after staying in the mysterious space for a day, Shuu Fan pushed the door and walked out of the room, ready to enter the dining hall to find food to fill his stomach. The cultivator in the chi refining stage still needs to eat to replenish physical strength and maintain life. Only at the foundation establishment stage can you rely on spiritual chi to nourish your body and maintain your vitality without eating. Under the dark night, Shuu Fan walked out of the dining hall after eating and drinking. Just as he was about to reach the residence of the outer sect disciples, he saw 2 furtive figures slipping out from a row of houses. Shocked, Shuu Fan quickly jumped onto a tree and hid. The 2 Taoist figures ran towards Shuu Fan from far to near, and Shuu Fan, who was hiding in the tree, was so frightened that he almost slapped himself and hid in the mysterious space. However, he was relieved when he saw the 2 of them stopped a few meters away from him. There was no moon tonight, and the night was very dark. Even Shuu Fan, who was on the 4th level of chi refining, could not see the faces of the 2 clearly from such a distance. Senior brother Zhou, why did you ask me to come out so late? One of them spoke in a low voice, but Shuu Fan still heard it clearly. It was Zhang Liang's voice. As soon as Shuu Fan heard the voice, he knew the identity of the speaker. Zhang Liang lives in the room next to Shuu Fan, and Zhang Liang is one of the few outer sect disciples of Shuu Fan who has had friendship. This is why Shuu Fan is so sure that it is Zhang Liang who speaks. But who is brother Zhou that Zhang Liang is talking about? Is it Zhou Shulin? After thinking for a while, Shuu Fan determined that the other person was Zhou Shulin. In the entire outer sect, there are not many people with the surname Zhou, and only Zhou Shulin can be called brother Zhou by Zhang Liang. Shuu Fan stared at the 2 suspiciously. Why did Zhang Liang and Zhou Shulin get together? As far as Shuu Fan knew, Zhang Liang and Zhou Shulin had no friendship at all. Hee, senior brother Zhang, senior brother doesn't play tricks, calling you out this time is good for you. The man whom Zhang Liang called senior brother Zhou smiled and said. Shuu Fan's guess was completely correct, it was Zhou Shulin. Benefits, Zhang Liang said in doubt, and then continued with a smile. Senior brother Zhou, don't play tricks on junior brother, I didn't do anything, there are people who will give you benefits. Zhou Shulin's smile grew stronger, and he said slowly, I want to ask my junior brother to do me a small favor, and I will definitely not treat you badly after it is done. Zhang Liang was even more puzzled. How could he, a little cultivator who hadn't reached the 5th level of chi refining, help Zhou Shulin? Although I don't know what's going on, calling him out in the middle of the night will definitely not be a good thing, and it's not good to refuse directly. After pondering for a while, he said, Brother, you are welcome. If you can do it, you can just say it. Zhou Shulin put away his smile and looked around to make sure there was no one around, so he said in a word, I want to ask my junior brother to help me ask Shuu Fan out. About senior brother Chen, Zhang Liang looked at Zhou Shulin suspiciously. Isn't this very simple, and you still have to ask him through me? Wait, could it be that senior brother Zhou and senior brother Chen are having an affair this week, so it is inconvenient to speak in front of others? Zhang Liang's heart couldn't help but tremble, Chrysanthemum couldn't help pinching it forcefully, and the way he looked at Zhou Shulin changed. Shuu Fan, who was hiding in the tree, also heard it, and was also puzzled, why did the woods ask him out this week? But also through Zhang Liang. Well, there must be a conspiracy, keep listening and see what tricks this can do. Because of the dark sky, Zhou Shulin didn't pay attention to Zhang Liang's eyes. He didn't understand, so he whispered, I think junior brother Zhang also knows what happened this morning. I've heard about it. Zhang Liang nodded. He lived next door to Shuu Fan. He was not deaf or blind, so how could he not know? To tell the truth, junior brother Zhang, Shuu Fan offended Wong Deacon, so I arranged for me to teach him a lesson. Zhou Shulin carried out Wong Tiana again. When Zhang Liang heard the words, he felt a thump in his heart. If he offended Wong Deacon, wouldn't he be able to eat and walk around? No wonder senior brother Zhou asked senior brother Chen to do chores today. I dare say this is what Wong Deacon meant. Thinking of getting closer to Shuu Fan on weekdays, I couldn't help panicking. Could it be that the King Deacon is going to implicate me? The more Zhang Liang thought about it, the more frightened he became. He was only one step away from the 5th level of Qi refining. Reaching the 5th floor of Qi refining, it can be said that half a foot has stepped into the inner sect. But now that this happened, if Wong Deacon blamed himself, then everything would be hopeless. Thinking of this, Zhang Liang hurriedly said, actually, I don't know brother Shuu Fan very well. I can't even speak a few words on weekdays. I'm afraid I can't help you with this. Zhang Liang immediately distanced himself from Shuu Fan. Shuu Fan, who was hiding on the tree fork, could hear Shuu Fan yelling in his heart, this idiot, he is just a 25-year-old kid, and the other party hasn't spoken yet, so let's get rid of it. Zhou Shulin listened, smiled, and said, of course I know the relationship between junior brother Zhang and Shuu Fan, so there is no need to explain it. As long as junior brother Zhang invites Shuu Fan to the cliff of the back mountain tomorrow, I believe Wong Deacon also believes that junior brother Zhang and Shuu Fan are just ordinary senior brothers. Quote. Zhou Shulin accentuated the word, ordinary. Zhang Liang's face changed for a while, and he hesitated in his heart. Although Zhou Shulin did not say what purpose he had for inviting Shuu Fan to the cliff at the back of the mountain, everyone knew that his purpose was impure. Junior brother Zhang, you have to think about it carefully, is it worth it to offend Wong Deacon for an irrelevant person? You have to weigh it yourself. Seeing that Zhang Liang did not answer for a long time, Zhou Shulin threatened. Hey, I promise. Zhang Liang struggled for a long time, sighed, and said helplessly. Hey, I knew junior brother Zhang was a smart man. Zhou Shulin patted Zhang Liang on the shoulder and praised with a smile. Then, he took out 2 objects with a faint green light from the storage bag. Ah, it was the low-grade spirit stones. Shuu Fan could see what Zhou Shulin had taken from a long distance away. Zhou Shulin handed the 2 low-grade spirit stones to Zhang Liang, and continued, Junior brother Zhang, I know that you are about to break through the 5th level of Qi refining, and you take these 2 spirit stones. When things are done, I will give you a Qi refining pill to ensure that you break through to the 5th level of Qi refining before the inner sect advances to the competition. Quote. Zhang Liang took the spirit stones with trembling hands, and when he heard Zhou Shulin's words behind him, his whole body trembled with excitement. Thank you senior brother Zhou, thank you senior brother Zhou, I will definitely bring Shuu Fan to the cliff of the back mountain tomorrow, and I will definitely not let you down. Zhang Liang was so grateful that he almost kowtowed to Zhou Shulin. Compared with the previous attitude, it is a world of difference. With benefits, nothing else matters. Okay, at noon tomorrow, you find a reason to trick him to the cliff of the back mountain. I promise I won't treat you badly. Quote. Zhou Shulin patted Zhang Liang on the shoulder several times, and the latter repeatedly promised that he would live up to their expectations. The two talked a few more words, and after discussing it, they rushed to the residence of the outer sect disciples together. After about 10 minutes, Shuu Fan was sure that the other party would not show up again, so he jumped down from the tree. You are so vicious and want to kill me. Also, Wong Tiana got involved anyway. I don't remember offending him. Shuu Fan looked at the direction the two were leaving and cursed in a low voice. Although he has inherited a lot of memories from the original owner, but after 3 years, he has indeed forgotten some of them. I only remember having unpleasant things with Wong Tiana, but those were all very small things. Isn't an outer sect deacon so imposing? Could it be that there were other things that offended Wang Tiana and Zhou Shulin before? After thinking about it, Shuu Fan thought it should be, otherwise how could these two fools plot to murder him at this time? But fortunately, I overheard it. Otherwise, I really don't know how to die. Since we already know, Zhang Liang will ask him to go to the cliff of the back mountain tomorrow and just refuse. Shuu Fan made some calculations in his mind before carefully returning to his own house. Lock the door, give yourself a slap, enter the mysterious space, sit on the spot as usual, and continue to hit the 5th level of qi refining. Early the next morning, Zhang Liang really knocked on his door. Brother Chen, are you in there? Zhang Liang's familiar voice sounded outside the door, as usual, still so kind. Shuu Fan, who had already come out of the mysterious space, heard Zhang Liang's yelling, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth, and cursed in his heart, it's really early. Shuu Fan didn't rush to agree, and sat upright on the bed. After about 2 minutes, Zhang Liang called again. These houses are equipped with restrictions. People outside the cultivation base will definitely not be able to detect the situation inside the house until the foundation establishment period. Shuu Fan still didn't respond, he wanted to let Zhang Liang hang out. Zhang Liang seemed to believe that Shuu Fan was in the house, and he didn't leave, still waiting at the door. After about half an hour, Shuu Fan finally got up and opened the door. Zhang Liang, who had been waiting for half an hour, was already impatient. If he was not afraid of being suspicious, he would have rushed in and dragged Shuu Fan. Seeing Shuu Fan open the door at this moment, as if seeing Bodhisattva, I was so excited that I was about to shed tears. Oh, it's junior brother Zhang, what are you doing here? Are you looking for me? Shuu Fan pretended to be surprised. Hearing this, Zhang Liang was about to yell at him, but thinking about what Zhou Shulin had told him, he finally managed to hold back. Senior brother Chen, if I don't look for you, who can I look for? I've been waiting for you here for a long time, and I haven't responded for a long time. I thought something happened to you. Zhang Liang showed a bitter face, and his words were full of grievances and helplessness. This is not Zhang Liang pretending, but the fact. It turns out that junior brother Zhang came to look for brother Zhang. I'm really sorry. I was too addicted to cultivation just now, so I didn't hear it. Shuu Fan squeezed out an apologetic smile and apologized falsely. Zhang Liang gave up. Brother Chen, don't worry about it, it's my fault for interrupting my brother's penance. Ouch, I'm pretty good at acting. It's a pity that he is a 25 boy. Okay, there's no need to say more about our friendship. You must go to the 3 treasures hall this time if you have nothing to do. If you have anything, just say it. As soon as Shuu Fan waved his hand, he decided not to make useless chatter with the other party, and let the idiot speak out as soon as possible. Zhang Liang didn't talk about other nonsense, and said bluntly, I want to ask brother Chen to go to the back mountain. Hey, here we come, you 2 or 5 boys are really cruel to hurt me. Shuu Fan cursed in his heart. Although Shuu Fan knew everything, he pretended not to know anything on the surface. He smiled and asked Zhang Liang, the cliff behind the mountain. What are you doing there? I'd like to see how you, a young man, can come up with a way to lure me. Go. Looking at Shuu Fan's smile, Zhang Liang was momentarily at a loss for words. To be honest, he always felt that something was wrong. But when he thought that he was the one who set him off, he immediately gained confidence in his heart. Open, junior brother, now is an extraordinary period. You and I are both on the 4th level of qi refining, and we are an inch away from the 5th level of qi refining, so don't relax at this time. Your practice attitude will not allow you to advance to the inner sect. Quote. Shuu Fan didn't wait for Zhang Liang to continue, and taught Zhang Liang a lesson. If nothing else, Daddy will reprimand you first. When Zhang Liang was told by Shuu Fan, his face flushed immediately, and he stammered, Chen. Senior brother Chen, I have something important to tell you. Bigger than your mother, obviously trying to harm me, so why not talk about big things? Shuu Fan sneered in his heart, but on the surface he showed a curious look. Oh, what's the big deal? Zhang Liang looked around and saw no one, so he lowered his voice and said mysteriously, I found a ginseng plant on the cliff at the back of the mountain. Judging from the year, it is more than 100 years old. Ah, really? Shuu Fan's eyes widened and his mouth opened wide. His expression was comparable to that of an actor. Really, that's why I invited you to pick it together. When we get the century-old ginseng, you and I will eat it together, and we will surely be able to break through to the 5th level of qi refining in one fell swoop. Zhang Liang's acting skills are not much better than Shuu Fan's, and his expression is excited, justified and just like the real thing. It's so good, so good. Shuu Fan rubbed his hands excitedly, paused, and said, Junior brother Zhang, there are so many people at the moment, we will go quietly to pick them at noon. What do you think? After finishing speaking, Shuu Fan showed a smile that was not a smile. At this time, Zhang Liang didn't have any thoughts, he was only excited. Okay, everything is according to what the senior brother said. After the two said a few more words, Zhang Liang turned and went back to his room. Looking at Zhang Liang's room, the corners of Shuu Fan's mouth rose slightly, revealing a sneer. Originally, he decided to reject Zhang Liang's invitation and escape their plot. But thinking about the long days to come, facing such a malicious person, it is impossible to be on guard all the time, let alone hear it in advance like this time. So Shuu Fan finally decided to get rid of these two people today, so that he has no worries. Soon, the time agreed upon by the two arrived. Zhang Liang knocked on Shuu Fan's door on time. After exchanging a few words of pleasantries, the two mysteriously headed towards the back mountain. The cliff of the back mountain is between the outer sect and the inner sect. It is not far from where they live, but it takes about 20 minutes to walk. The two of them were silent all the way. Zhang Liang looked fine at first, but after walking for a while, he became a little heavy. When he got to the back, water was dripping from his tense face. It could be seen that he was nervous. And Shuu Fan, with a relaxed face, didn't change a bit from the beginning to the end. Soon, the two came to the cliff of the back mountain. Zhang Liang didn't say anything, but pretended to search left and right. Shuu Fan naturally knew what these 2 or 5 boys were looking for, and sneered in his heart, you will find out later. He also looked around, but did not see Zhou Shulin's figure. Junior brother Zhang, this is the cliff of the back mountain. Where is the century-old ginseng you mentioned? Shuu Fan looked at Zhang Liang playfully. Zhang Liang, who was already nervous, trembled when he heard Shuu Fan's question, and stammered, I. But he didn't say it all the time. Looking at Shuu Fan's eyes that gradually turned cold, his body trembled even more violently. At this moment, a figure jumped out of the woods together, mockingly said. Hee, there is no ginseng in 100 years, and you will see it in King Yama later. It was Zhou Shulin who spoke. Hearing Zhou Shulin's voice, Zhang Liang seemed to have grasped a life-saving straw, and the previous nervousness on his face was replaced by joy. Shuu Fan looked over, and Zhou Shulin had a look of success. Oh, it's you, brother Zhou. Shuu Fan's face was calm, and he was not at all surprised by Zhou Shulin's appearance. Zhou Shulin and Zhang Liang were puzzled, why the other party was not surprised, as if they had known it for such a calm performance. How did they know that the plot between the two last night had already been heard by Shuu Fan? Zhou Shulin saw that Shuu Fan's face was calm and not flustered at all, and he immediately became angry. Shuu Fan, yesterday publicly refuted. My face, I will make you regret today. Quote, I regret that you are paralyzed, Daddy will solve your 2 dog days today. Shuu Fan took a step forward, spiritual qi was circulating all over his body, and a threatening murderous aura spread. Zhou Shulin and Zhang Liang were frightened by Shuu Fan's sudden murderous look and took a step back. Soon, Zhou Shulin realized that Shuu Fan was just a waste of the 4th level of qi refining, but he was a cultivator of the 6th level of qi refining. Trash, looking for death. Zhou Shulin shouted angrily, took out his iron sword, and stabbed towards Shuu Fan. Shuu Fan faced the surrounding forest and his back to the boundless cliff, there was no way to retreat. Haha, trash, I will finish you today, let's see how you escape. Zhou Shulin urged the magic power in his body to gather on the iron sword, trying to kill him with one blow. A cultivator in the qi refining stage lacks attack methods, and basically has no other way except to condense its own magic power on the weapon. Zhou Shulin's sword gathered all the magic power in his body, and it was very difficult for Shuu Fan to dodge it. If it is a hard fight, the gap between the two layers of cultivation base. Needless to say, the loser is definitely Shuu Fan. Shuu Fan, who was almost at a dead end, faced the situation in front of him. His expression was still so calm that it was frightening. Feeling the iron sword getting closer and closer to Shuu Fan's heart, Zhou Shulin had already fantasized about killing Shuu Fan and then going back to claim credit from Wong Deacon. However, just a few millimeters away from the sword tip to Shuu Fan, the corners of Shuu Fan's mouth were raised, revealing a mocking smile. Immediately afterwards, Shuu Fan did something that surprised the two of them. He raised his hand and slapped himself, and then disappeared strangely out of thin air. Zhou Shulin stared wide-eyed, looking at the empty front with a face full of surprise. This is the person missing. It was right in front of you just now. The own iron sword was about to stab him. Why did it suddenly disappear? Why? Zhang Liang behind him also looked at the empty space with a look of surprise. Oh shit, Zhou Shulin cursed. Because of Shuu Fan's disappearance, he pierced through the air with a full blow, and almost fell to the cliff. Fortunately, cultivators are different from ordinary people. Very precise in strength and body control. With a sudden break, he managed to stand still. Holding the iron sword in his hand, Zhou Shulin turned around and stared at the place where Shuu Fan disappeared, his expression changing for a while. After a long time, he cast his eyes on Zhang Liang and asked, "Was Shuu Fan here just now?" Did I read it right?" There was extreme hesitation and uncertainty in his tone. Zhang Liang opened his mouth and nodded after thinking for a long time. "Well, it's just, right there, senior brother Zhou, you read that right." This is not to blame Zhou Shulin and Zhang Liang. After all, a cultivator at the 4th level of qi refining disappeared without a trace in front of his eyes, and no one could calm down. But why is he missing? Zhou Shulin asked stupidly. He couldn't figure out why Shuu Fan suddenly disappeared under his nose. Does he have teleportation? No, it's impossible. It's impossible for a kid in the qi refining stage to have divine channeling skills. Hearing Zhou Shulin's question, Zhang Liang hesitated for a moment, shook his head slowly, and said, I don't know either. Afterwards, the two looked at each other, bewildered. Just then, Shuu Fan appeared. He suddenly appeared behind Zhou Shulin. Zhou. Zhang Liang pointed at Zhou Shulin's back, as if he had seen something terrible. He was so frightened that he couldn't even speak. What? Zhou Shulin asked in bewilderment, and as soon as the words came out of his mouth, he realized something was wrong. It's just too late. Zhou Shulin only felt a chill on his neck, and then a sharp pain, as if being cut by something. He wanted to run the magic power in his body, but found that the magic power in Dantian was gradually dissipating, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't mobilize half of it. What made him even more frightening was that Zhang Liang, who was not far in front of him, began to become blurred, and his own consciousness gradually dissipated. Zhou Shulin wanted to turn his head to see what happened to his back, but as soon as he exerted force, he felt his head drop. It was separated from his body. Well, luckily, he lost consciousness before his head hit the ground. Zhou Shulin's head fell to the ground and rolled a few times before stopping at Zhang Liang's feet. Zhang Liang trembled, his face turned pale. Zhou Shulin, who had lost his head, shook his body a few times, and fell to the ground with a plop. Holding the long sword in his hand, Shuu Fan glanced coldly at the corpse at his feet. I'm still refining qi to the 6th level, you still want to live after messing with daddy? After speaking, he looked at Zhang Liang again, raised his sword point to point at him, raised the corner of his mouth, showing a sneer. Hey, junior brother Zhang, it's your turn. With a plop, Zhang Liang knelt down on his knees and kept kowtowing to Shuu Fan. Please, senior brother Chen, please spare me. At this moment, Zhang Liang had no intention of fighting Shuu Fan at all. He was completely terrified by Shuu Fan. How can he resist a person who is elusive, can disappear out of thin air, and can appear suddenly? Moreover, what Shuu Fan just killed was Zhou Shulin on the 6th level of qi refining. The 6th level of qi refining, that is 2 levels higher than myself, and the strength is several times higher, but Shuu Fan cut off his head with a sword. What resistance do I use to resist as a qi refining level 4? Escape. Then don't even think about it. With Shuu Fan's ability to disappear and reappear, who can escape? I beg you, Senior Brother Chen, I know I was wrong. You have a lot of adults, please forgive me once. Zhang Liang kept kowtow. Shuu Fan's heart was like a rock, and he was unmoved at all. He said coldly, Junior Brother Zhang, you tricked me into coming here, and when you conspired with Zhou Shulin to kill me, did you ever think of saving my life? Yes, it was Zhou Shulin who forced me. Brother Chen, you just want to forgive me once for the sake of years of love. I will be a good person in the future, and I will never forget your great kindness. Zhang Liang continued to kowtow, but his words were not vague at all. Forcing you, he. Shuu Fan narrowed his eyes slightly, shook his head and said, even if it is so, what would you do if it was me lying on the ground losing breath? Brother Zhang, people always have to pay a price for their own choice. Don't worry, just bear with me, I'll be there soon. Poof, sword ray flashed, Zhang Liang stopped kowtowing. There was no screaming, indeed, as Shuu Fan said, his sword was very fast, without the slightest. Zhang Liang did not feel any pain. Before the head flew out, he was still kowtowing. After Shuu Fan beheaded Zhang Liang, he took out the belonging bags containing the spirit stones from both of them, and then threw their bodies and heads into the cliff. Then, he cleaned up the blood stains and some remaining traces on the scene before rushing back. It would be nice if there could be somewhere in the mysterious space anytime and anywhere. Although you can go in and out at any time now, the distance is limited. If you go farther, you can't go at all. You still have to go by yourself. Quote. Shuu Fan sighed with emotion and couldn't help feeling a little regretful. After more than half a month of familiarization, Shuu Fan has basically mastered all kinds of information about the mysterious space. For example, the most commonly used is in and out. It is very simple to enter the mysterious space, as long as Shuu Fan is willing, he can enter anytime and anywhere. And coming out, the same is true. Shuu Fan has experimented, the position from the mysterious space is the position when entering. Within a radius of 2 meters from where he entered, Shuu Fan can choose to show up at will. That is to say, there is a circle with a radius of 2 meters at the position when entering, and Shuu Fan can appear at any position within the radius of the circle of 2 meters when exiting. It was only before Shuu Fan discovered that he originally planned to directly reject Zhang Liang's invitation to deal with this conspiracy in an evasive way. But after thinking about it, I felt that I could use the mysterious space to get rid of Zhou Shulin and Zhang Liang, so I agreed. The fact is also just as Shuu Fan imagined. He entered the mysterious space instantly before Zhou Shulin stabbed him with the sword, and when Zhou Shulin's tense nerves relaxed a bit, he suddenly appeared behind him and killed him with a sword. What happened was very simple, and Shuu Fan did it smoothly, without any mistakes, perfectly interpreting what assassination is. And it's a double kill. Double kill. After killing 2 people, Shuu Fan didn't have the slightest worry about being discovered. Although Qianyuanzong is a small sect, it has never lacked outer sect disciples. Now there are more than 50 outer sect disciples in the entire Qianyuanzong. Many people die like this. Abandoning 2 insignificant outer sect disciples didn't attract much attention at all, at most it was Wong Tiana's inquiry. In the cultivation of a mortal world, dead people are very normal. Not to mention the outer sect disciples of Qianyuanzong, even the inner sect disciples often die and disappear. So Shuu Fan never thought about being discovered by sect from the beginning to the end. Along the way, there were few people at first, and only when we got close to the residents of outer sect did we occasionally meet brothers from the same school. Shuu Fan didn't greet anyone, just bowed his head and walked silently. Back in the house, Shuu Fan locked the door and looked around before entering the mysterious space. Taking out the bags snatched from Zhou Shulin and Zhang Liang, Shuu Fan quickly took out all the contents of the 2 bags. There are not many things for the 2 of them, and they add up to 10 kinds. Shuu Fan began to examine carefully. The 2 of them didn't have many spirit stones. Zhang Liang had 3 low-grade spirit stones, and Zhou Shulin only had 4 low-grade spirit stones. Seeing that Zhou Shulin sold 2 low-quality spirit stones last night, Shuu Fan thought that this guy was a rich owner, but he didn't expect that the other party was also a poor and destitute cultivator just like himself. In fact, this is Shuu Fan thinking too much. He is also an outer sect disciple in the Qi refining period. How strong can he be? Except for the 7 low-tier spirit stones, everything else is a mess. But with these 7 spirit stones, Shuu Fan is extremely satisfied. With these 7 pieces of low-grade spirit stones, he can refine at least 2 furnaces of chi refining pills. But there are still a lot of chi refining pills in hand right now, so don't worry. Shuu Fan put the 7 low-grade spirit stones back into his bag, and began to meditate. Time flies by. In the evening, Shuu Fan opened his eyes from meditation and practiced, ending a day of practice. It's almost there. The magic power in Dantian has reached the bottleneck. Hee, work harder tonight, and we will be able to break through to the 5th level of chi refining. Shuu Fan stood up. The joy on his face was beyond words. Go to eat first, come back and then take the chi refining pill to hit the 5th floor. Leaving the mysterious space, Shuu Fan appeared in the own room, walked out of the room, just closed the door, and was stopped by someone within 2 steps. Shuu Fan, you wait. Shuu Fan turned around and looked. His heart was moved, and then cupped hands saluted and said, I met Deputy Lin Deacon. The person who came was Lin Dekong, Deputy Deacon of Qianyuanzong Outer Sect. Where are you going? Lin Dekong asked flatly. Shuu Fan's heart became active. He didn't know what Lin Dekong wanted to do with him. It was probably about Zhang Liang and Zhou Shulin. Thinking of this, he casually replied, Go back to Deacon, the disciple is going to eat. Oh, Lin Dekong groaned, seemingly unintentionally, but also deliberately said, Have you seen Zhang Liang and Zhou Shulin today? Shuu Fan felt a thump in his heart. He really came here for the 2 dead people. Is this suspicion on my head? But it was too fast. After thinking about it carefully, it is normal for Lin Dekong to ask. He just had a conflict with Zhou Shulin, and then he disappeared today. Anyone would doubt him. Shuu Fan thought this in his heart, but there was no change on the surface. He shook his head, showing a cold expression. I haven't seen the 2 people mentioned by Deacon in recent days. Lin Dekong narrowed his eyes slightly, and looked at Shuu Fan for a while, which made Shuu Fan's back shiver involuntarily. The competition to advance to the inner sect is about to begin. Don't run around if there is nothing to do. The outer sect isn't very peaceful. Lin Dekong said something meaningful, then turned and left, leaving behind Shuu Fan, who was still in a daze. Ah, is this to remind me or to beat me? Shuu Fan frowned, feeling a little nervous. I have never been familiar with Lin Dekong, and I don't have much friendship, so I can't come here to remind myself, right? And if it was a warning, would it prove that he already knew that he had killed Zhou Shulin and Zhang Liang? Shuu Fan was suddenly in a state of confusion. Should he escape from Qianyuanzong? Rely on a few Riddlers, just say no. Shuu Fan slandered in his heart. When he came to the big cafeteria, Shuu Fan thought carefully while eating, and finally decided to wait and see what happened. If something is really wrong, it's not too late to escape. Think it through. At this point, the worries in Shuu Fan's heart disappeared immediately. Go back to the house, enter the mysterious space, take the chi refining pill, and immediately meditate to refine the energy in the body. With the passage of time, Shuu Fan refined more than half of the medicinal power of the chi refining pill, and all of it was converted into its own magic power. Shuu Fan felt the huge magic power in Dantian, and the whole Dantian was already filled with magic power, full of it, as if it was about to overflow. It's finally time for a breakthrough. Shuu Fan was very excited. Now you only need to use magic power to impact Dantian and let Dantian expand, then the 5th layer will be formed naturally. Shuu Fan was enraged by Dantian, concentrating on manipulating the magic power in Dantian, and charged away at the barriers around Dantian. What? Shuu Fan let out a muffled groan. Malar Gobi, expanding Dantian is really too painful. Hey, the qualifications are low, and every breakthrough will suffer a lot of torture. But in order to be promoted, this little pain is nothing. Shuu Fan gritted his teeth and continued to control the magic power to hit Dantian's barrier. After repeating this many times, finally when Shuu Fan was about to faint from pain, the inner wall of Dantian changed. The magic power in the entire Dantian began to stir, and as the speed increased, a vortex slowly formed. When the magic power vortex rotated, it shook the Dantian barrier. As time passed, Dantian began to change, expanding outward at a speed visible to the naked eye. Haha, it's done, Daddy has finally broken through to the 5th level of Qi refining. August 15th. It is the 3-year Outer Sect Disciple Assessment of Emperor Qianyuanzong. This is the so-called Inner Sect Promotion Contest. This assessment is also simple to say, it is to test the Outer Sect disciples. The Inner Sect Promotion Competition is divided into 2 parts. The first is to reach the 5th level of Qi refining. As long as you successfully reach the 5th level of Qi refining, you will be eligible for the second part of the test. The second part of the test qualification is even simpler, thanks to a senior from the Foundation establishment period as a teacher. As long as you are accepted as a disciple by the senior of the Sect Foundation establishment period, it means that you have successfully advanced to the Inner Sect. If you pass the first part, and you were rejected during the apprenticeship, there is another time. The opportunity is to become an inner disciple through challenges. It is also very simple to advance to the Inner Sect challenge. The elder of the sect issues the challenge task. As long as the challenge is successful, you can become a real Qianyuanzong disciple. Shuu Fan has already memorized this rule by heart. Just after dawn, Qianyuanzong's bell rang, but Shuu Fan didn't hear it. At this time, he was still meditating in the mysterious space. At this moment, Shuu Fan's eyes were slightly closed, and he was sitting cross-legged. His pretty face was distorted, as if he was going through something very painful. After about half a minute, Shuu Fan's distorted face gradually recovered. After another half a minute, a smile appeared on his handsome face. Suddenly, Shuu Fan opened his eyes, and a ray of light shot out. Hey, I finally broke through to the 6th level of Qi refining before qualifying for the Inner Sect competition. Daddy is going to decide the quota for the inner discipline this time. After breaking through to the 5th floor 20 days ago, Shuu Fan didn't stop there, he still took Qi refining pill and meditated. In order to advance to the Inner Sect, Shuu Fan still decided to break through to the 6th level of Qi refining. After breaking through to the 5th floor, the medicinal power of the Qi refining pill also changed from refining 1 pill in 2 days to refining 1 pill in 1 day. After the Qi refining pills he refined before were used up, he bought and collected materials to refine a furnace of Qi refining pills. And when buying the spirit tooth grass, he accidentally bought a copy of the unknown sword art from a senior brother. Taking Qi refining pills every day, Shuu Fan magic power increased rapidly. Although this kind of cultivation speed will attract suspicion from many people, after all, Shuu Fan is only in the Qi refining period, and he is still a low level 1. As long as he encounters an adventure, it is not shocking. During this period, Shuu Fan still squeezed out an hour every day to study the nameless sword formula. To Shuu Fan's surprise, he seemed to have an inexplicable talent for Wuming Jianju. However, in 20 days, he had cultivated the Wuming sword art to the basic level, and the number of flying swords that could be condensed out of thin air had reached 3. Therefore, he is more confident about advancing to the Inner Sect. After Shuu Fan was excited for a while, he left the mysterious space. Appearing in the room, he raised his eyes to glance at the scenery outside the window, saw that the sky was already bright, and couldn't care about anything else. After tidying up his clothes, he pushed the door out and strode towards the great hall of the contest. Qianyuanzong's promotion to the Inner Sect competition, the first part of the practice level assessment was held in the Great Hall of Martial Arts. Along the way, Shuu Fan saw many disciples, men and women, all walking towards the Great Hall for practicing martial arts. Although they have been in the same school for 3 years, most of them are busy practicing, so there is no time to connect with each other. Everyone can only say that they have met, and they can vaguely remember such a person. If you say familiar, it is naturally not familiar. Shuu Fan came to practice martial arts Great Hall, there are already many Outer Sect disciples inside. He looked around, and then randomly found an empty space in the corner and sat on the floor. Several disciples around saw Shuu Fan, although they looked familiar, they didn't intend to greet him. Shuu Fan also did not take the initiative to greet a few people. He glanced up at the top of the Great Hall, and saw that the chief seat above was still vacant, and the elder in charge of the assessment hadn't arrived yet. It seems that there is still some time before the start of the assessment. Shuu Fan is not in a hurry, he has already broken through to the 6th level of Qi refining, and advancing to Inner Sect is even more stable than Mount Tai. He simply closed his eyes and rested his eyes on the spot. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, Shuu Fan felt a commotion in his surroundings. He opened his eyes and saw an old man over 60 years old sitting in the vacant main seat above. On the left of the 60-year-old man stood the smiling outer sect deacon Wong, and on the right was the outer sect deputy deacon Lin Dekong. Being able to sit on the main seat, and being weighted by the two deacons of the outer sect. Presumably this 60-year-old man is the Qianyuanzong elder who is in charge of this assessment. Qianyuanzong's inner sect promotion competition assessment is presided over by an elder of the sect, assisted by two deacons of the outer sect. Under normal circumstances, the elder is only responsible for supervising the host, and the test is handed over to the two deacons of the outer sect for execution. Shuu Fan narrowed his eyes slightly, and his eyes fell on the old man involuntarily. This old man has silver hair and a rosy face. He is not wrinkled like ordinary people in the world. His eyes are slightly opened, and a ray of light shines from time to time. Judging from his cultivation base, it is definitely not low. Shuu Fan observed for only a few seconds, and the silver-haired old man seemed to be aware of it, and suddenly frowned. Following the flow of people, his sharp eyes like eagle eyes shot on Shuu Fan's face instantly. Shuu Fan suddenly felt like a sharp thorn, and was shocked, and quickly looked away. The silver-haired old man ignored him for a while, a look of doubt flashed in his eyes, and he finally looked away. Call. After the silver-haired old man looked elsewhere, Shuu Fan let out a long breath unconsciously, and thought to himself, this old man is so powerful. The silver-haired old man just sensed his own peeping with just a glance. To describe it in one word, so terrifying. However, his reaction was fast enough, and he turned his gaze away before the silver-haired old man looked at him. If not, he might be accused of disrespecting his elders again. At that time, I really couldn't tell. Son elder, is something wrong? Wong, who was always paying attention to the silver-haired old man, saw that the former was a little strange, so he asked. This silver-haired old man is one of the three elders of Qianyuanzong, the strongman of the Foundation Establishment Realm Late Stage, Sun Liancheng. This Sun Liancheng can also be ranked among the top 10 figures in the entire Qianyuanzong. Seeing that his expression was different, Wong was really afraid that something might have gone wrong. Nothing. Sun Liancheng waved his hand, the fierce look in his eyes gradually disappeared, and the cold and arrogant look returned to him again. Then he said indifferently, it's just that the junior just took a few extra glances. Hearing what Sun Liancheng said, Wong Tian took a thump in his heart, and quickly flattered him. With your old heroic appearance, Sun Elder, it's normal for these juniors to take a few more glances. However, Sun Liancheng directly ignored Wong Tiana's flattering words. He didn't even blink his eyelids, but just waved at Wong Tiana, and said coldly. Okay, it's getting late, everyone is here, it's time to start. Wong Tiana didn't feel embarrassed either. He cupped hands to Sun Liancheng. Yes, Sun Elder, I'm going to preside over the test ceremony. Pen Fun Library. Wong Tiana walked slowly towards the testing platform. Wong Tiana swept towards the group of people where Shuu Fan was while walking. I secretly felt ruthless in my heart. This group of trash dared to disrespect Sun Elder. If you fail the inner sect assessment today, you will be tortured slowly. Thinking about it, a cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Just now, although Wong Tiana didn't dare to follow Sun Liancheng's gaze, he still caught sight of a specific direction out of the corner of his eye, which was Shuu Fan's group of people. And Shuu Fan and the few people nearby didn't even know that Wong Tiana had held grudges in his heart. Especially Shuu Fan, who already had an enmity with Wong Tiana, now has another enmity added. If you can't successfully advance to the inner sect this time, even if you don't get kicked out of Qianyuanzong, it won't be too good to think about it. All the outer sect disciples in the audience saw Wong Tiana walking towards the testing platform, and they couldn't help but gear up, with expressions of eagerness to try, and the excitement was self-evident. Of course, this is only limited to outer sect disciples who have reached the 5th level of Qi refining. In fact, it's no wonder that these outer sect disciples are so excited. If they pass the sect test, accept the Foundation Establishment Realm Senior as their teacher, and enter the inner sect, their status will immediately rise. Not only can you have an independent immortal cave, but you can also receive the elixir and spirit stones issued by Sect every month. Moreover, cultivation base has reached the 7th level of Qi refining, and can freely enter and exit Qianyuanzong to find opportunities. With these, the speed of cultivation is definitely unmatched by outer sect disciples. Of course, these benefits are not very important to Shuu Fan, or he doesn't care at all, or even disdain. These benefits given by Qianyuanzong are not many, and they can be offset by refining a batch of Qi refining pills. Such a comparison is indeed too shabby to be on the stage. It's just that Shuu Fan's strength is still too low now. He wants to advance to the inner sect, but he just wants to find a shelter for himself, a protective umbrella that allows him to grow slowly. With a mysterious space, he will surely become a cultivator admired by thousands of people in time. All disciples be quiet. Standing on the testing platform, Wong Tiana, with a pair of elongated old faces and glints of eagles in his eyes, slowly swept towards the crowd of disciples whose heads were surging below. Shuu Fan's thoughts were also pulled back by Wong Tian's shout. The field fell silent. Seeing this scene, a smile appeared on Wong Tiana's face, and he immediately felt that his face had doubled, and his own prestige was still very high. Shuu Fan shook his head. He likes pretend so much, beware of being struck by lightning. Hehe, adhering to the rules handed down by my Emperor Qianyuan, every August 15 is the test day for outer sect disciples to advance to inner sect. For you disciples who started 3 years ago, you must have understood all of this. But whether you understand it thoroughly or not, this deacon has to reiterate it again. Quote. Paused, and continued. As we all know, in the Qi refining period, below the 5th floor, one cannot use spirit power to sense the aptitude root bone, and one must use the spirit measuring pillar. And next to this elder is the spirit measuring pillar. As long as you stick your palms on it and activate the spirit power in your body, you can measure your aptitude. It's very simple to enter the inner sect. As long as you can light up 3 grids on the spirit measuring column, then congratulations, you passed the first test and successfully entered the second part. If you can't let the test spirit light up 3 grids, then I'm sorry, you failed and lost the qualification to stay in Qianyuanzong. Quote. It was only then that Shuu Fan realized that the so-called reaching the 5th floor of the Qi refining stage would qualify him to advance to the inner sect, but the main purpose did not mean reaching the 5th floor of the cultivation base. It was to test the aptitude of the outer sect disciples. It's no wonder that Shuu Fan misunderstood it. Basically, half of the 50 or 60 outer sect disciples present misunderstood it, thinking that it would be enough to reach the 5th level of Qi refining, but unexpectedly, they still looked at the hidden root of aptitude. What Shuu Fan didn't know was that in the Chaos Continent, the cultivator can only check whether there are spiritual roots with bare hands, but it is difficult to distinguish whether the spiritual roots are good or bad, and can only be judged by the spirit measuring pillar. At this time, a fair-looking young man next to him was explaining to his companion in a low voice. When Shuu Fan heard that it was about the cultivation world, he pricked up his ears and eavesdropped. It turns out that ordinary people without magic power cannot activate the spirit test pillar, and the cultivator magic power that has just been trained is not strong enough, so it is difficult to test the true aptitude. Only at the 4th floor of the Qi refining period can the accuracy rate of 80 to 90% be achieved. And when it reaches the 5th floor of the Qi refining stage, it is basically 100% accurate. This is also the standard used by Qianyuanzong and even the entire Chaos Sect to test the aptitude of the disciples, that is, the length of time that the sect has practiced varies. Like Qianyuanzong, from entry to mastery. No, it should be said that the time given to the 5th level of refining Qi is 3 years. And some big sects, at most, give 1 year, and some even only half a year. A cultivator's aptitude root is extremely important to a cultivator. According to the classification standard of Chaos Continent, the aptitude root is divided into 9 levels from good to bad, namely, 1st rank to 9th rank. 1st rank is the best, it is not an exaggeration to call it the chosen one. 9th grade is the worst, calling it waste material is an understatement. In the entire cultivation world, the truly transcendent is after the Foundation Establishment realm. Entering the Foundation Establishment realm, one can not only fly with a sword, cast magical powers, and even double lifespan. If you can't cultivate to the 5th level of the Qi refining stage after 3 years of entry, there is no hope of breaking through the Qi refining stage in this life. A waste who stayed in the Qi refining stage all his life would not help Qianyuanzong at all. Therefore, Qian Yuanzong would not leave such a waste material. Of course, there are exceptions to this. After all, the qualifications have reached the 7th rank, but the cultivation resources are scarce, and there are quite a few people who have not yet broken through to the 5th level of refining qi. For such disciples, Qian Yuanzong will basically give them another half-year chance, and will test them again after each year. Hearing this, Wang Tiana, who was at the Lingtai, had already finished his nonsense. Chapter 11. Okay, do you understand? Wu Yu carried his hands on his back, and glanced at the outer sect disciples underground with piercing eyes. When he saw the piece of Shuu Fan, he paused for 2 seconds. When he was speaking just now, he clearly noticed that someone was speaking in a low voice. HMPH, those people again dared to talk when he was speaking. Obviously they didn't want to put his outer sect deacon to put in one's eyes, and they must make them look good after the test. Wang Tiana was full of anger in his heart, but on the surface he still maintained his usual majesty. Understood. Many outer sect disciples shouted in unison. The voice was loud, like thunder. Very good, here is a list of you guys. If Ben Deacon reads the name, he will go to the Vice Deacon Lin for the test. Do you understand? At this time, Lin Dekong had also walked to a pillar not far from Wang Tiana, which was the spirit measuring pillar used for the test. Understood. Dozens of outer sect disciples shouted loudly again. Very good, Wang Tiana nodded in satisfaction. Sun Liancheng, who was sitting on the main stage, had a calm face, examining everything in the hall without any expression. Okay, the test has officially started. Li Wei. As Wang Tiana's words fell, a tall figure squeezed out from the crowd, and strode towards the spirit testing pillar, his face full of excitement. Shuu Fan knew this person. He was the senior brother he had bought the snow fox with. Back then, Shuu Fan bribed the other party with a piece of low-grade spirit stones. Put your palm on it and use all the movement technique power, don't hold back, as long as you can light up 3 lights, you can pass. Lin Dekong reminded from the side. Hearing Lin Dekong's reminder, Li Wei turned his head with a look of gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Lin Deacon. After finishing speaking, Li Wei took a deep breath, with a blush on his face, and slammed his palm on the measuring spirit pillar. The black measuring spirit stones, which were 3 feet high, were faintly divided into 2 parts from top to bottom. 9 grids. At this moment, all the people gathered on the spiritual measuring pillar. The eyes of the audience, including Sun Liancheng, also turned their attention to that side. Li Wei on the field could see that he was very nervous, and his palms that were attached to the spirit testing pillar trembled a little. And all the outer sect disciples off the court also looked nervously at the spirit measuring pillar. Advanced inner discipline, for these outer sect disciples, is an opportunity to jump into the Dragon's Gate. Missing this opportunity is basically cutting off the road to cultivating immortals. Just imagine that the aptitude of people who even look down on such a small sect as Qian Yuanzong must be extremely poor, let alone other sects. They will definitely not want it. Shuu Fan narrowed his eyes slightly, staring closely at the spirit stones, clenched his fists unconsciously. Although he now has a 6th level cultivation base, this test is based on aptitude, which is very different from what he knew before. What if he only has an 8th level root? This is not surprising. After all, before taking the qi refining pill, he hadn't broken through to the 5th level of qi refining. And Li Wei on the testing platform has already started sending magic power to the spiritual testing pillar. Li Hui's eyes were wide open, and he said in a low voice, "Hey. Urge spiritual qi to gather qi towards the hand holding the spirit measuring pillar." TCH. The dull test spirit stones suddenly rose with a gorgeous light, which lit up 2 bars at once, and instantly flashed everyone's eyes. However, no one blinked. The dazzling light stimulated the disciples, and instead made them stare at the spirit stones more nervously. Some people even became short of breath. This guy has a bit of talent. Shuu Fan murmured in his heart. It seems that he really took his words of flattery seriously, and entering the inner sect might be no problem. Seeing that the spiritual pillar of measurement had lit up 2 grids, Li Hui's face showed a look of excitement. He was still 1 step away. He was only 1 step away from entering the inner sect. Thinking of this, Li Wei suddenly moved his whole body with luck, urging all the magic power to rush fiercely towards the right palm resting on the spirit measuring pillar. His face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bah! A more powerful red light appeared, quickly climbed towards the third grid of the spirit measuring column. But in the blink of an eye, more than half of the entire second grid was filled, and it was about to fill up the second grid and break through to the third grid. Li Wei was overjoyed. At this moment, a sudden change occurred, and the dazzling light suddenly dimmed, as if it was in danger of going out, and the speed of the light's climb also stopped immediately. Li Wei was anxious, and tried again, but the magic power in his body had already been exhausted. Without the follow-up magic power, the red glow stopped at a speed visible to the naked eye, and finally failed to break through to the third frame. Suddenly, Shuu Fan, is this over? I was very optimistic about the other party's qualifications just now, why only more than 2 bars were lit up? The slap in the face is too fast, completely beyond own imagination. Not only Shuu Fan thought so, but many disciples present also had this thought. They were obviously awesome at the beginning, but why were they so sloppy in the end? Many disciples don't understand, and neither does Shuu Fan. It's really surprising that Li Wei, who was so outstanding at the beginning, has such poor aptitude. Thinking that such an outstanding disciple failed to pass, the remaining 50 or so disciples were more or less worried. His face also became heavy. Heavier than Shuu Fan and others is Li Wei himself. Looking at the 2 bright and dazzling grids of the spiritual measurement pillar, Li Hui's heart is as dead as ashes, the 8th rank root bone, this life, is over. Cultivation base. 5 layers of qi refining, 8th grade of root bone, unqualified. Lin Dekong said loudly. The sound resounded throughout the training hall. Although it is infinitely close to the 7th rank, but the 8th rank is the 8th rank, even if it just touches the line of the 7th rank, it is not the 8th rank. Wong Tiana over there had a flash of imperceptible contempt in his eyes, and waved his hand, signaling to the Chor disciples waiting at the side to take Li Wei down. Sun Liancheng, who was sitting in the chief seat, remained expressionless, unable to see what was going on in his heart. Next, Chen Tian. Wong Tiana read according to the list. A thin young man passed the crowd and walked quickly to the stage. Without Lin Dekong's teaching, he pressed his right hand on the spirit testing pillar. Just as Lin Dekong was about to say a reminder, he felt a bright light flashing in front of his eyes. There are more beef petals than Li Hui's before, and this time, 3 squares are directly filled. Everyone exclaimed when they saw it. Without waiting for everyone's reaction, Chen Tian suddenly channeled the magic power in his body again. 2 more red glows lit up, and the light on the grid rose rapidly, and soon, 2 more grids were filled. In an instant, the field erupted. 5th rank, it turned out to be the root of 5th rank. Wong Tiana exclaimed. What? It turned out to be a 5th rank bone. Who is he? Why haven't I heard of it before? There is something wrong with the spirit measuring pillar. Many outer sect disciples below exclaimed. Shuu Fan also showed horror in his eyes, this Chen Tian is so strong. The 5 illuminated grids on the spirit detection pillar have all reached their apex, and there is only a hair's breadth away from the 6th grid. Some people even wondered whether this Chen Tian deliberately did not break through 6 squares, so as not to shock the world. According to records, Qianyuanzong has not had a 4th rank root disciple for hundreds of years. If this Chen Tian has a 4th rank root, it will really stir up the entire Great Qin Kingdom. However, the 5th rank Gengu is also a genius disciple, and there have been less than 20 Qianyuanzong disciples in the past few hundred years. Without exception, the dozen or so disciples of the 5th rank have all reached the Golden Core state, and there is even one who broke through to the Golden Core state and reached the Zochin, almost breaking through the alchemy and becoming a baby. Chen Tian's frightening talent attracted even Sun Liancheng's attention, and an expression appeared on his indifferent face for the first time. The root of 5th rank can be regarded as a genius in the entire Great Qin Kingdom. According to the history of cultivating immortals in the Chaos Continent for millions of years, with a 5th rank root and guaranteed foundation establishment realm late stage, 60% of them hope to hit the Golden Core realm. You know, there are only 2 people in the Golden Core of Qianyuanzong, and there are only about 20 people in the foundation establishment period. Chen Tian has a 5th rank root bone, which means that Qianyuanzong will definitely be able to add a disciple of the late stage of the foundation establishment period within 10 years. Sun Liancheng's eyes froze, and a divine sense swept towards Chen Tian, who stood there without any expression. Love, as if you didn't feel it. After a few breaths, Sun Lianwu withdrew his divine sense, the light in his eyes was flickering. The 8th level of Qi refining period, If you really have the root aptitude of 5th rank, it seems that you need to focus on training in the future. Sun Liancheng muttered in his heart, but the ecstasy in his heart did not show. Just as Sun Liancheng withdrew the divine sense, Chen Tian revealed an imperceptible disdain at the corner of his mouth, and withdrew his palm casually. Cultivation-based Qi refining stage 8th floor. 5th rank root bone, qualified. Immediately afterwards, Wu Yu walked over, changed his usual attitude towards the outer sect disciples, with a smile on his face, and flattered Chen Tian. Congratulations to Chen Tian for becoming an inner disciple, please wait over there. What Wang Tian said is interesting. The test of the root bone is only the first level, and there is the second part of being selected as an apprentice. Now Wang Tiana directly congratulates Chen Tian, expecting that Chen Tian will definitely be recruited by Sect Senior in the Foundation establishment period. Facing Wang Tiana's obviously flattering words, Chen Tian had a look of disdain, and walked straight to the far left of the Great Hall. Wang Tiana blushed slightly, this flattery was not in place. Seeing all this, Shuu Fan couldn't help sighing in his heart, human nature. Next, another 5 or 6 people were tested, but none of them passed the test. They were basically like Li Wei. The cultivation base arrived, but not at all. At this moment, Wang Tiana's complexion was as black as carbon. According to the regulations, the more disciples who can pass, the richer his reward will be. Lin Dekong, on the other hand, looked indifferent, and stood calmly beside the spirit test pillar, waiting for the next outer sect disciple who came up for the test. Wang Tiana looked sullenly, glanced at the list in his hand, and was about to call out, but stopped. Wang Tiana's face was visibly stiff, and his expression became even worse. He said with a gloomy face, "Next, Shuu Fan." After finishing speaking, his eyes narrowed, and a vague murderous intent emerged, and then realizing that Sun Liancheng was still watching from behind, Wang Tiana broke out in a cold sweat from fright, and hid the murderous intent in his eyes. "Hey, it's him, the kid who offended Wang Deacon. I didn't expect him to survive until now, a miracle, a miracle." Hearing Wang Tiana calling Shuu Fan, several miscellaneous disciples beside him began to discuss in low voices. Shuu Fan frowned when he heard this. "Everyone knows that I have a grudge against Wang Tiana. Why do I have no impression?" Shuu Fan muttered in his heart, but his mouth was unambiguous. He took a deep breath, stood up and strode towards the stage. Looking at the indifferent Shuu Fan, Wang Tiana felt even more annoyed. It was this trash who made him an outer sect deacon for 3 more years. When the inner sect promotion competition is over, this deacon will have to deal with you, so that this trash can't get out of Qianyuanzong. I wasted 3 years. Quote, Wang Tiana thought viciously, and also believed in his heart that Shuu Fan could not be qualified. Feeling Wang Tiana's almost murderous eyes, Shuu Fan's eyes flashed a strange light. He snorted coldly in his heart. This fool, in the past 3 years, has caused his body to suffer a lot. If there is a chance, he must avenge the original owner, which can be regarded as repaying his body. Thinking this way, Shuu Fan walked to the spirit measuring pillar beside Lin Dekong. "Let's start." After Lin Dekong gave an order, Shuu Fan immediately raised his right hand and pressed it heavily on the spirit testing pillar. "It all depends on this time." Shuu Fan's eyes suddenly shot out a flash of light, and he pressed the palm of his right hand to the test spirit stones like lightning. Scare. The sudden movement and a scream startled Lin Dekong. Shuu Fan completely ignored. Seeing Shuu Fan's domineering posture and his loud voice, all the disciples could not help but hold their breath and stare at him intently. Shuu Fan concentrated his mind on his dantian, and felt the powerful magic power inside. Call. Exhaling a long breath, Shuu Fan controlled dantian's magic power in his body with his thoughts to rush towards the left arm that was touching the spirit stones. Like a series of small snakes, a swelling feeling came from the left arm immediately. If such a large capacity magic power wants to pass through the arm, it will undoubtedly be a great test for the strength of the physical body, and it will soon reach the limit of the arm. Shuu Fan could feel a tearing pain, but at this moment only one grid of the spirit measuring pillar was lit up. Dantian obviously still has a lot of magic power, but he can't send it all at once. Because the meridians on its body are too small, no amount of magic power can only be output slowly. This is the root cause of the poor root. The light kept flickering, but the light just rose to the second grid and then stagnated. The test of the spirit column is to test the power of a sudden burst, not the persistence. Therefore, no matter how rich the magic power in Shuu Fan Dantian is, it is useless. No matter how hard or durable a toothpick is, people don't feel it. It's not enough for you to output as much as you can. This is the case with Shuu Fan now. He is hard and durable, but not thick enough. Looking at the bright lights of those two grids, Shuu Fan had a feeling that as soon as he relaxed, the red light would disappear instantly, just like the first tester Li Wei. No, even worse than Li Wei. Failed. All the outer sect disciples in the audience stared at Shuu Fan, and Wong Tiana, who was not far away, showed disdain and ridicule on his face. Daddy is a person from Earth who traveled through time, so he won't be able to pass this level. A roar suddenly sounded from the bottom of Shuu Fan's heart, his eyes closed, and a stern look appeared on his face. Shuu Fan suddenly withdrew the magic power he had input into the spirit measuring pillar. In an instant, the lights on the two grids on the spirit measuring pillar suddenly stopped, and then dimmed at an extremely fast speed. What's going on when it turns on and then goes off suddenly? Everyone did not expect that Shuu Fan would take the initiative to withdraw the magic power, and they all thought that there was a problem with the spirit measuring pillar. Only Sun Liancheng blinked, showing a puzzled expression. Shuu Fan sank into Dantian, and manipulated the magic power to rotate rapidly in Dantian, forming a vortex in a short while. This scene once appeared when he refined the 4th level and broke through the 5th level. Wait until Dantian's missing magic power wants to be tangled together like twisted ropes. It's now. Shuu Fan opened his eyes suddenly, and a gleam of starlight flashed across his pitch-black eyes. He quickly retracted his left arm, and slapped the spirit measuring pillar fiercely with both palms. What are you doing? Everything happened in the blink of an eye, and the whole process seemed cumbersome, but in fact it only took a few seconds. When Wong Tiana came to his senses, he saw Ji Yuqing slapping towards the spirit testing pillar, as if he wanted to vent his anger because he failed the test. Everyone was stunned and couldn't believe it was true. Only Sun Liancheng had a strange look in his eyes. Bang! With a sound, in the surprised eyes of everyone, the spirit measuring pillar, which was originally dim, suddenly burst into a bright brilliance. 1 grid, 2 grids, 3 grids. When the second grid was filled and broke through to the third grid, everyone was shocked. Stunned, he looked at Shuu Fan in disbelief. What is this? Accumulate slowly, or blockbuster. The spirit detection pillar was already off just now, why is it on again? Shuu Fan, you dare to attack the spirit measuring pillar. If the spirit measuring pillar is broken, do you think I can take the responsibility? Or can you? Wong Tiana's face was full of anger, and he came to Shuu Fan in 3 steps at a time, and roared loudly. Lin Dekong also had a look of fear. This kid is too bold, but luckily the spirit test pillar is fine. Also, according to the regulations, the test is done with one hand. If you use both hands, this is already breaking the rules and your qualification will be disqualified. Wong Tiana stared angrily, pointed at Shuu Fan's nose and said. Disqualified. Mahler Gobi, Daddy's hands are still aching, you actually want to disqualify Daddy? Shuu Fan's complexion sank, and he couldn't help it anymore, and said coldly, which eye of yours saw the attack test spirit pillar? I was obviously just testing it. Is Wong Deacon too old to even look at things? Don't understand. Wong Tiana didn't expect Shuu Fan to speak to him in such an attitude. His face was flushed with anger, and he couldn't even speak for a while. On the contrary, this trash dared to provoke him openly, it is really lawless. The disciples below also looked shocked. Dare to talk to Deacon like this, do they still want to hang out in Qianyuanzong? Sun Liancheng squinted at Shuu Fan, thinking that he had great courage, but his qualifications were too poor. Shuu Fan raised his head, stepped out, and continued to speak coldly. What are you, dare to ask Wong Deacon, which rule can only be tested with one hand? Did you decide it yourself? Are you making rules for Sect? Quote. Shuu Fan directly launched a soul triple combo, and the big hat was buckled. Hiss. Wu Yu's body trembled, his face turned pale. There is indeed no such regulation in Sect, and he just said it in a moment of impatience. Now that Shuu Fan directly put on such a big hat, he just reacted. If the crime of setting the rules falls on him, I am afraid that he, a disciple of the Qianyuan sect, will have made it to the end. No, it should be the end of this life. At this moment, Wang Tiana didn't bother to argue with Shuu Fan. He turned to Sun Liancheng and bent down, cupped his hands and said, "Please forgive Sun Elder, Junior just spoke quickly and said something that shouldn't be said." Quote. Listening to an old man calling himself Junior to another old man, Shuu Fan couldn't help sighing, the world is so messed up. HMPH, I won't care about your first offense. Sun Liancheng snorted coldly. Thank you Sun Elder. Wang Tian thanked with cupped hands. Continue testing, Sun Liancheng said. This sudden event. It's over. Cultivation-based Qi refining stage 5th floor. 7th grade root bone, qualified. Wang Tiana looked at the light that was almost on the same level as the third grid, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he said reluctantly. Shuu Fan, go over there first and wait. Lin Dekong said quickly. He was also afraid of causing any conflict, so he hurriedly asked Shuu Fan to wait there. Shuu Fan arched his cupped hands towards Lin Dekong, stepped in front of Sun Liancheng, saluted with his cupped hands, then went to Chen Tian's position and stood beside the latter. This series of actions made Wang Tian very angry. Shuu Fan clearly refused to give him face. Humph. Chen Tian glanced at Shuu Fan with disdain, and seemed to be extremely contemptuous of such a small gesture. For this kind of person, Shuu Fan naturally wouldn't put his hot face on his cold butt, and stood beside him with a sunere face. The test continued, and Shuu Fan started the next round as soon as he walked on the front foot. In the next situation, some people are happy and some are worried. Those who pass are naturally happy, while those who fail are dejected. Testing is easy and doesn't take much time. It took most of the morning to complete the tests of 50 or 60 people. In the end, only 8 people passed the pass, and the overall pass rate was less than 20%. The test is complete. First, the little leaders Wang Tiana and Lin Dekong congratulated, and then let those unqualified outer sect disciples go back to their residences. Finally, Wang Tiana asked Sun Liancheng to speak flatteringly. As if this was the rule, Sun Liancheng smiled and his voice improved a lot. First of all, congratulations on your qualification to advance to the inner sect, but this is just a qualification. Whether you can enter the inner sect or not depends on your good fortune. Your results and performance today will be sent to fellow students of the Foundation establishment realm in the inner sect. Whether you will be accepted or not depends on their preferences. Tomorrow morning, Wang Deacon will announce the results uniformly. After finishing speaking, Sun Liancheng waved his hand and said loudly to Chen Tian, "Follow me." Chen Tian didn't ask much, walked over, and Sun Liancheng slapped his waist, and a flying sword appeared out of thin air, and turned bigger. Then, Sun Liancheng pulled Chen Tian onto the flying sword, and floated away under the envious eyes of everyone. Wang Tiana and Lin Dekong glanced at each other, and finally Lin Dekong waved his hand. Go back for now, tomorrow will have its own results. The 7 people present nodded in agreement and walked out of the hall. Shuu Fan walked at the back. Wang Tiana looked at his leaving back with resentment, and his murderous intention became even stronger. Back at the residence, Shuu Fan didn't stop, and directly entered the mysterious space. Now that he has completely fallen out with Wang Tiana, he must speed up the improvement of cultivation base in order to compete with Wang Tiana. Early the next morning, Lin Dekong came to look for Shuu Fan. A bad news, a good news, which one do you want to hear? Knocking on the door, Lin Dekong said directly to Shuu Fan. Ah, Lin Dekong still likes to play this trick. Shuu Fan is very witty and did not refute Lin Dekong's face. Good news. Lin Dekong smiled. Congratulations, you are already an inner disciple. Shuu Fan wondered, since they have become inner disciples, what bad news is there? Could it be Wang Tiana who wants to mess with me? With doubts, Shuu Fan asked, what about the bad news? Ah. You are not attracted by anyone in Foundation establishment realm. Lin Dekong said with a serious face. Shuu Fan is not embarrassed either. With his 7th rank roots, there are indeed few people who are willing to work as his disciples. According to the history of the Chaos Continent, the 7th rank root bone is basically equal to the big brother of the waste material, a little bit more powerful than the waste material. The probability of Foundation establishment is 5 out of 10,000. Lin Dekong told him that the reason for accepting him as an apprentice. There are too few qualified outer sect disciples this year, and he only has 8. In order to increase the number of disciples in the inner sect, Shuu Fan was directly passed, and even the assessment tasks were omitted. This can't help but make Shuu Fan feel that the European emperor is possessed, and the rules of Qianyuanzong have broken himself. It's embarrassing to let me lose my virginity. Lin Dekong urged him to pack up his stuff and enter the inner sect. Shuu Fan didn't have anything, and all the valuables were in the mysterious space, so he followed Lin Dekong directly to the inner sect. I thought the inner sect was a good place, but I never thought it would be greener than the outer sect. Except for a few office buildings in the entire inner sect, there are no buildings at all. When I asked Lin Dekong, I found out that the inner disciple lived in a mortal cave. For a while, Shuu Fan had the illusion of being a caveman on the top of the mountain, and he had to live in a cave if he could not live in a good house. Is it the pleasure of coveting in and out? Next, Lin Dekong ran up and down with Shuu Fan to register, get the nameplate, enter the booklet, and get the house, or the cave. A series of down. The time is almost noon. The cultivator in the qi refining period was not yet able to fast, so Lin Dekong took Shuu Fan to eat at the canteen in inner sect. Promoted to the inner discipline, Sect has issued bigudan, but Lin Dekong said that the thing is not for human consumption at all, and it is still delicious to eat ordinary people's meals. Shuu Fan had no choice but to agree to eat in the canteen. Qianyuanzong. There are not many disciples, but due to accumulation over the years, there are more than 200 in total. Compared with the outer sect, it is still a lot more. Perhaps the disciples of the inner sect are busy practicing, and there are only Shuu Fan and Lin Dekong in the canteen of Nuoda University. The canteen is free, no need to pay spirit stones. The meals he ate were all grains containing a little spiritual qi, and they tasted to Shuu Fan's liking. While the two were eating, Lin Dekong told Shuu Fan about some rules of inner sect. These are basically things like loving sect, respecting teachers, not spreading cultivation technique to outsiders, not killing each other, and so on. Shuu Fan responded with a smile one by one. In the end, Lin Dekong said, "Anyway, be careful in inner sect, after all you offended Wong Tiana, that old guy is very narrow-minded, he will definitely stare at you and scratch your sore feet." Isn't that old fellow in the outer sect? Lin Deacon, I remember he has been living in the outer sect. Single quote. Shuu Fan asked in bewilderment. Lin Dekong shook his head. You don't know, the outer sect deacon is not always held by one person, but a tenure system. Every 3 years, the old guy has expired and can return to the inner sect. By the way, my term of office has also expired, so don't call me deacon in the future. Our Qianyuanzong is ranked according to the cultivation base, you and I are both in the qi refining period, just call me senior brother. Quote. Shuu Fan suddenly realized that it was so. Thinking about it, an outer sect deacon is useless, but there are a lot of miscellaneous things, which wastes time and hinders practice. But why are people willing to do such a thankless thing? Lin Ji, Brother Lin, is this outer sect deacon forced by Sect to arrange a fellowship? Shuu Fan asked. Lin Dekong shook his head. No, it's basically voluntary. Shuu Fan was even more puzzled. Would anyone volunteer for such an errand? Ah, it can't be voluntary. Seemingly seeing Shuu Fan's doubts, Lin Dekong showed a smile. Do you know Foundation Establishment Dan? Shuu Fan was taken aback. What does this have to do with Foundation Establishment Dan? But in a flash, he thought of it, so he said eagerly, is it for Foundation Establishment Dan to serve for 3 years? Lin Dekong nodded. Junior brother is really smart. Yes, Sect has regulations. As an outer sect deacon for 3 years, you can get a Foundation Establishment pill. After hearing Lin Dekong's words, Shuu Fan finally understood. A cultivator needs the assistance of the Foundation Establishment pill from qi refining breakthrough to Foundation Establishment. Without the Foundation Establishment pill, it is basically impossible for a cultivator to be promoted to the Foundation Establishment realm. Geniuses are able to advance to Foundation Establishment realm without Foundation Establishment Dan. It's not difficult to explain. Wong Tiana is over 100 years old, and he is still on the 10th floor of the qi refining stage. Presumably, he is not the kind of peerless genius who does not use the Foundation Establishment pill. So if he wants to hit the Foundation establishment realm, he must get the Foundation establishment Dan. It's a shame to say, but I actually went to work in the outer sect deacon because of that Foundation establishment pill. Lin Dekong suddenly blushed slightly, and his tone was a little embarrassed. Shuu Fan nodded as a matter of course. Well, this is normal. Brother doesn't look like the kind of genius who can attack the Foundation establishment realm without relying on the medicine pill. As soon as the words fell, Shuu Fan felt that there was something wrong with the words, as if he was calling Lin Dekong a waste. Lin Dekong nodded in agreement. That's right, you and I, junior brother Chen, are the kind of people who need a pile of medicine pills to advance. Shuu Fan was noncommittal. Don't Sect give Foundation establishment Dan? Shuu Fan asked. Lin Dekong went to work in outer sect for a Foundation establishment pill. Wong Tiana went to the outer sect for a Foundation establishment pill. This all shows that they lack Foundation establishment Dan. His thinking was clear and his reaction was quick, but Shuu Fan was wrong. No, Sect is still issued by Foundation establishment Dan. Qianyuanzong has a rule that anyone who reaches the 10th level of the refining period can get a Foundation establishment pill. Quote. Lin Dekong said. Then why do you still? Speaking of this, Shuu Fan stopped, and Lin Dekong understood the rest of the words. Sent out one, used it, and failed to advance. Lin Dekong said helplessly. Everything is because the talent is too bad, and the root is not good. Shuu Fan grasped the key point and used one pill, that is, a cultivator that can be used unlimitedly with Foundation establishment pills. The answer is yes. My last Foundation establishment was half-step short. Foundation establishment Dan is very popular in cultivation world. In order to get Foundation establishment Dan, I did a survey, and only the outer sect is the easiest. Quote. Lin Dekong shared his own experience with Shuu Fan. He believed that a junior, would definitely be useful in the future. Then, has the senior brother obtained this Foundation establishment pill to guarantee that he can enter the Foundation establishment realm? Shuu Fan asked. Lin Dekong was in deep thought, but didn't answer right away. After a while, he said, less than 10%. How much is it? Shuu Fan asked. 30%. Lin Dekong's pupils shrank, and his voice lowered a lot. Shuu Fan, do you know why Wong Tiana hates you so much? Lin Dekong changed the subject, always saying that he always felt bad. It's never a good feeling to be talked about, and it's even worse if you talk about yourself with others. Therefore, the contradiction must be transformed, from talking about oneself to talking about others. Lin Dekong played this hand very well, and Shuu Fan immediately became interested. Why did I mess with his ancestors? Shuu Fan asked. The soul passed through, and some memories were indeed missing. Not really. Lin Dekong shook his head. You know, this is actually the 6th year that the old man has been in office. 6 years. Didn't it mean changing every 3 years? Why did Wong Tian take office for 6 years? Is it because I can receive 2 Foundation establishment pills? Shuu Fan was puzzled. Brother Lin doesn't speak well, he only speaks half of it each time, waiting for someone to ask the other half. If it were on Earth, Shuu Fan would definitely have slapped him. Here, Shuu Fan also wanted to take a picture, but realized that there was a difference of 4 levels between him and Lin Dekong, and finally felt that the same family should love each other and not touch each other. No, he can only get 1 Foundation establishment pill for 6 years in office. Sure enough, Shuu Fan was not disappointed. Lin Dekong only said half of what he said, and directly omitted the second half. Shuu Fan's head hurts, and it's not a solution to ask him all the time. It's better to stop and let Lin Dekong talk about it paragraph by paragraph. After a pause, Lin Dekong continued the above words. Actually, Wong Tiana's tenure expired 3 years ago, and he can take the Foundation establishment Dan given by Sect to the closed-door training to attack the Foundation establishment realm. However, he didn't get the Foundation establishment Dan that time, and the Foundation establishment Dan that should have been obtained was disturbed by one person. Quote. Shuu Fan still couldn't hold back, and asked, that person couldn't be me. Well, it's you. Lin Dekong nodded. Shuu Fan was surprised. This is a common plot in TV dramas. It seems that not all the TV series one watched in my previous life were made up. 3 years. A while ago, an outer sect disciple of Sect went out and died outside. At that time, the deacon was also Tiana Wong. Originally, one or two outer sect disciples were fine, but by coincidence, the outer sect disciple who died had some relationship with the senior of a Foundation establishment realm in the inner sect. That outer sect disciple sneaked out. You've been in the outer sect for so long, so it's normal to know. But Wong Tian took that old thing and just went out. The Foundation establishment realm senior of the inner sect directly charged a charge of management negligence. Wong Tiana refused to admit it at the time, insisting that he was practicing in closed-door training, and no one asked him to apply to go out. At that time, the Foundation establishment realm senior didn't have any direct evidence either. Originally, this matter was left alone, but, accidentally, the Foundation establishment realm senior found a witness. Quote. After speaking, Lin Dekong looked at Shuu Fan with a strange expression. Shuu Fan's heart skipped a beat. The witness wouldn't say it was me. Lin Dekong immediately laughed. Hee, that old man was also unlucky. He happened to be seen by that disciple when he came back, so, with a witness, he can't escape punishment. Witness, Wong Tiana. Ah, I remembered. A vague memory hidden in Shuu Fan's heart was remembered by him. On a certain day 3 years ago, Shuu Fan had just joined the sect, and was wandering around the outer sect to get familiar with the environment. Walking to a hidden place in the woods, I saw a middle-aged and elderly man coming up a path in a hurry. Shuu Fan recognized that person. It was the outer sect deacon. At that time, he also bowed to the opponent's cupped hands, but the opponent ignored him. Shuu Fan didn't take it seriously either. It was just a small episode of his familiarity with the outer sect environment. Unexpectedly, 3 days later, an elder who is said to have a high cultivation base and a high status in sect found him and asked him to testify. As a rookie who has not yet learned the cultivation formula, how dare he refuse? How can he refuse? Therefore, Shuu Fan testified against Wong Tiana in front of many elders. Pulling back his thoughts, Shuu Fan showed a wry smile. That's how he became enemies with Wong Tiana. I have to say, the original owner is really a fool. Later, the development became very clear. Although Wong Tiana went out without reporting to the sect, after all, there was still a deputy deacon sitting in the outer sect, and that disciple also sneaked out without reporting. In the end, each of the sects played 50 boards, and it didn't matter if the disciple died. And Wong Tiana was fined a Foundation establishment pill and served as an outer sect deacon for another 3 years. Quote. Lin Dekong told the final result. After speaking, he looked at Shuu Fan meaningfully. Shuu Fan pouted. So this is why Wong Tiana targeted me. Well, you don't understand how important a Foundation establishment pill is to a 10th level cultivator. Because of your words, Wong Tiana wasted 3 years in vain. At his age, not to mention 3 years, even 3 months are very precious. The lifespan of the gas refining period will not increase much. The older you are, the less chance of breakthrough. Junior brother is directly strangling his life for 3 years. It is reasonable for him to hold grudges against you so much. Quote. Lin Dekong said, and then added, but you didn't do anything wrong, tell the truth. It's just too stupid. Quote. Shuu Fan rolled his eyes, are you praising me or hurting me? But what Lin Dekong said was not wrong at all. The original owner is really a lump of elm, and he doesn't know how to adapt. Ah, it seems that Shuu Fan also realized the cause of the original owner's death, and it must have something to do with Wong Tiana. The two chatted for a while. Seeing that it was getting late, they bid farewell and returned to their respective immortal caves. After this conversation, the relationship between Shuu Fan and Lin Dekong improved a lot. Shuu Fan returned to the immortal cave assigned to him by Sect. Although it was an immortal cave, the environment was much better than that of the outer sect. But Shuu Fan didn't care too much about it. Anyway, he spends most of his time in the mysterious space, and doesn't spend much time outside. After getting acquainted with Immortal Cave for a while, Shuu Fan slapped himself and entered the mystery. Because Shuu Fan cultivation base has been improved, the mysterious space is much larger than before. The length, width and height have all changed. According to Shuu Fan's estimate, it has increased by roughly 50%. That is, the size of the mysterious space has increased from about 10 square meters to 5 square meters. Of course, the black medicinal cauldron is still in its original place. Looking at the empty mysterious space, Shuu Fan thought about buying some furniture next time. Such as beds, tables and chairs. The expansion of the mysterious space also changed the spiritual qi in the space. The spiritual qi in the whole space is more abundant, and Shuu Fan can obviously feel that the speed of absorbing spiritual qi is faster when he meditates. Another thing is that after the mysterious space is upgraded, the range of positions from which you can come out of it becomes wider. It used to be a radius of 2 meters, but now it is about 2.5 meters, which is half a meter longer. In the end, I don't know whether it is the change after upgrading the cultivation base, or the effect brought about by the improvement of the mysterious space. Shuu Fan discovered that he existed, and Dantian's spiritual qi transformed into magic power was much stronger than before. In other words, his aptitude has been improved, and his absorption and transformation have become more efficient. In general, it is of great benefit to Shuu Fan. With his breakthrough to the 6th level of qi refining, the demand for qi refining pills became even greater. And now, from refining 1 qi refining pill a day to now refining 2 qi refining pills a day. This also shows that the magic power needed to advance to the 7th level of qi refining has doubled again. Of course, his absorption and refining speed also skyrocketed. Shuu Fan took out the qi refining pills and counted them, only the last 8 remained. It seems that we need to collect materials to refine a batch of qi refining pills. Shuu Fan muttered, then took out a qi refining pill and put it into his mouth, and began to meditate and refine. On the 2nd day, Shuu Fan walked out of the mysterious space early, and he planned to collect the materials of qi refining pill in Sect today. Qi refining pill is the lowest level of medicine pill. The materials needed are not difficult to find, and there are not many types, only 12 kinds are needed. Moreover, 10 of these 12 materials are very common herbal medicines, and they can be dug directly on the mountain after spending some time without buying them. Among the 12 materials, the spirit tooth grass and snow fox blood need to be purchased. But this is not a problem. He has advanced to the inner sect, and the proper inner discipline, spiritual toothgrass and snow fox blood can be purchased directly from the sect. Shuu Fan came to the spiritual herbs hall of the sect of the inner sect, and bought 3 plants of lingya grass from the senior brother in charge, and spent 2. The next best thing is the spirit stones. Afterwards, he came to the rearing hall in the outer sect, and Li Wei was still in charge of the disciple, which surprised Shuu Fan quite a bit. According to the regulations of the sect, wouldn't one be expelled from Qianyuanzong if he failed to advance to the inner sect? Of course, Li Wei was also surprised. Seeing that Shuu Fan, who was once worse than him in cultivation base, advanced to inner sect, he was really jealous and envious. After being surprised, Li Wei explained to Shuu Fan. It turned out that the inner disciples who did not advance would not be completely kicked out of Qianyuanzong. As long as the cultivation base reaches the 5th level of qi refining, Qianyuanzong will let them stay and randomly assign jobs to them. These jobs are mining spirit stones, looking after ling fields, raising spirit beasts and other simple chores. As for Li Wei, the cultivation base was already at the 5th level of qi refining, so it was naturally left behind. After listening to Li Hui's explanation, Shuu Fan suddenly understood. The two exchanged a few more pleasantries, and finally entered the topic. "Brother Shuu, are you here to buy a spirit beast?" Li Wei asked respectfully. Shuu Fan has advanced to the inner sect, so his status is naturally different from the past, and Li Wei is also a sensible person. "Well, I need to refine medicine powder, and I need to buy 3 snow foxes. Please ask junior brother Li to catch them for me." Shuu Fan said that now that the identities are different, there is no need to make any excuses. The so-called medicine powder is a simplified version of medicine pill. During the qi refining period, the cultivator does not have innate real fire, and cannot refine medicine pill. It can only be boiled with all the materials and refined into medicine powder. Of course, the effect of medicine powder is extremely poor, less than 1/20th of medicine pill. This is also what Shuu Fan learned in Comprehension of Comprehension. However, after listening to Li Wei, he showed embarrassment, thought for a while, and then said, "This. Brother Shuu, I'm really sorry. The adult snow fox in the mountain was bought by an elder in the door yesterday, and the remaining snow foxes have been bred for less than a year, and according to sect regulations, it is not allowed to sell snow foxes that have been bred for less than a year. When Shuu Fan heard this, his brows were furrowed. Shwehu blood is one of the core materials for refining the qi refining pill, and it is inseparable from lingya grass. How long will it take for the snow fox to be a year old? Shuu Fan asked in a deep voice. 1 month at the shortest. Li Wei didn't hide it. 1 month. Too long. That means that I haven't taken the qi refining pill for a month. With own qualifications, it is absolutely difficult to improve without qi refining pill cultivation base. That is to say, you have to directly wave. It takes a month. If it was normal, it would be fine, but now Wong Dana is thinking about it. If he doesn't improve his strength quickly, he might be killed one day. Seeing Shuu Fan's ugly face, Li Wei pondered for a moment and said, Brother Shu bought Shwehu's blood to make qi refining powder. Shuu Fan came back to his senses. He was taken aback for a moment, then nodded. That's right, it's for the preparation of qi refining powder. Senior brother has a piece of news that may be useful to senior brother. Shuu Fan was overjoyed. What news? Tell me quickly. Li Wei cleared his throat and said, it's not just senior brother who came to buy Shwehu today. Before that, several people from the door also came to buy Shwehu, all for the purpose of refining qi refining powder. One of the brothers heard that there were no snow foxes, and finally asked me to catch 2 spirit mice and sell them to him. I heard from his words that the blood essence of the spirit mouse seems to be able to replace the blood essence of the snow fox. As for whether it will work or not, the younger brother can't study it. Quote. Shuu Fan's eyes lit up. Senior brother, are you serious? I dare not lie to senior brother. Li Wei said sincerely. Shuu Fan believed it after a little thought. That's the case, please help me catch 2 spirit mice. Brother, wait a moment, I'll catch the spirit mouse for you. After Li Wei cupped hands finished speaking, he turned and left the window. After half a stick of incense, Li Wei came back with a small cage. Brother, these are the 2 spirit-seeking mice you want. Shuu Fan took the small cage and took out 3 low-grade spirit stones from the storage bag. The extra piece of spirit stones will be used by the younger brother for his daily practice. Li Wei immediately expressed his thanks with cupped hands. Back in Own Immortal Cave, Shuu Fan gave himself a slap in the face, and brought 2 spirit mice into the mysterious space. Without extra delay, Shuu Fan walked up to the black medicinal cauldron, stretched out his finger, and threw all 11 kinds of ingredients including the spirit bud grass into the medicinal cauldron. Then put the lid on the cauldron and wait for 11 kinds of materials to be refined into juice. After a cup of tea time passed, the black medicine cauldron made a slight buzzing sound. Shuu Fan knew that the juice had been extracted. Reaching out a little, he opened the lid of the medicine cauldron, and took out a spirit-seeking mouse from the small cage. With a movement of his finger, a small golden sword condensed out of thin air, and swiped towards the spirit-seeking mouse's neck. Blood essence flows to the black medicine cauldron. Watch as the cyan sap turns crimson with the addition of spirit skin's blood essence. Shuu Fan muttered in his mouth. I hope it can really replace Shwehu. After a stick of incense passed, the black medicine cauldron beeped again. Shuu Fan couldn't wait to open the cauldron lid, only to see more than 10 dull-colored medicine pills floating inside. Seeing this, Shuu Fan had a bad feeling in his heart. Then he grabbed the medicine pill and held all the qi refining pills in his hands. Pick one up and observe carefully. It was found that not only the color of this qi refining pill was not as good as that of the previous 2 refinements, but even the surface was not so smooth. After careful induction, the spiritual qi contained in the medicine pill is also reduced by half. Is this still a qi refining pill? Shuu Fan looked at the pill in his hand suspiciously. Try the effect. As he spoke, Shuu Fan put a qi refining pill into his mouth. Shuu Fan also sat down and began to look inside, observing the changes in the qi refining pill. The qi refining pill fell into his stomach, and immediately turned into a spirit rushing towards Dantian. After observing for a short while, Shuu Fan came to a conclusion. The qi refining pill refined with the spirit-seeking mouse is also a qi refining pill, but the medicinal effect is extremely poor, and the spirit power contained in it is less than 1/3 of that refined with snow fox's blood. Sure enough, it's flawed. Shuu Fan shook his head somewhat disappointed. But then he was relieved. This spirit mouse was supposed to replace Shuehu, so it was normal. Forget it. After refining the remaining spirit-seeking mouse, wait a month for Shuehu to refine the chi refining pill. Shuu Fan stood up, and he walked towards the spirit mouse. The spirit-seeking mouse seemed to have foreseen its upcoming fate, with a sad expression on its furry little face. Two small front paws kept grabbing the ground, and a pair of small eyes were full of tears. You are quite human. Shuu Fan cursed and continued walking towards the spirit mouse. Just when he was about to catch the spirit mouse, he saw that the small head of the spirit mouse began to swing up and down frequently. With its front paws, it kowtowed alive to beg for mercy. Shuu Fan was startled, and stopped what he was doing. This spirit mouse is a little different, it seems too human. You must know that low-level demonic beasts like spirit-seeking mice and snow foxes have extremely low IQs, no different from ordinary domestic animals. This spirit mouse completely surpasses the ordinary spirit mouse. At this moment, Shuu Fan sensed the throbbing of the sound transmission jade slip in the storage bag. Then open the storage bag and take out the sound transmission jade slip sent by Sect. This sound transmission jade slip is dry. Yuanzong's inner disciple has one person. As long as he leaves a ray of divine sense on the opponent's jade slip, he can transmit the sound to the opponent. Of course, because the sound transmission jade slip issued by Sect is the simplest sound transmission jade slip, it can only be used in Qianyuanzong. If you leave Qianyuanzong, it will lose its effectiveness. Shuu Fan divine sense penetrated into jade slip, and Lin Dekong's voice spread immediately. Junior brother Shuu, if you have spare time, come sit down at the immortal cave. It turned out that Lin Dekong invited him to visit him. Shuu Fan did not refuse, and immediately replied the message. Put away the sound transmission jade slip, glanced at the unusually clever spirit mouse, and then left the mysterious space. According to the location marked on Transhen's jade slip, Shuu Fan headed towards Lin Dekong's immortal cave. After walking for about a stick of incense, Shuu Fan came to an immortal cave with the number 159 on the door. This is Brother Lin's immortal cave. Shuu Fan said something to himself, and then he entered via voice transmission. After a while, there was a ripple at the entrance of immortal cave. Shuu Fan's face is the same. This is the most common and simplest form of immortal world repair, and it is used for sound insulation. It has no defensive ability, and it can be easily destroyed if it is above the 5th level of chi refining. After the ripples passed, a young man came out. Haha. Junior brother Shuu, I've been waiting for you for a long time. The young man walked towards him and laughed loudly. Shuu Fan also showed a smile, half-cupped fist. Senior brother Lin. The young man is Lin Dekong. Come here, come in quickly and see what good things the senior brother has prepared to entertain you. Lin Dekong dragged Shuu Fan into the immortal cave. Shuu Fan was curious, is senior brother Lin still a cook? With curiosity, Shuu Fan and Lin Dekong walked into Immortal Cave together. The figures of the two passed through the mouth of Immortal Cave, there was another ripple, and then returned to normal. Lin Dekong's Immortal Cave is no different from Shuu Fan's, both have one living room and 2 bedrooms. The decoration inside is simple, and they are all the original accessories of Sect. It seems that Lin Dekong is also a minimalist. Come on, junior brother, sit down. Lin Dekong pulled Shuu Fan to sit down at the table. There are several small dishes and a porcelain pot on the table. This is wine. Shuu Fan sat down and asked, pointing to the porcelain pot. Haha, yes, that's exactly what I left over from doing deacon in the outer sect, and it's no ordinary wine, it's a jug of spirit wine brewed from spirit fruit. Quote, Lin Dekong laughed again. Oh, it's spirit wine, I'm going to try it. Shuu Fan was also a wine lover in his previous life, he tried red, white and yellow. Unexpectedly, there is spirit wine here. Lin Dekong took out 2 transparent glasses and got up to fill them up. Suddenly, there was a burst of fragrance. Seeing the honey-like spiritual wine, Shuu Fan couldn't help swallowing a few times. This fragrance is really alluring. Please. Lin Dekong stretched out his hand. Shuu Fan was also polite, picked up the wine glass and drank it down. Lin Dekong looked at Shuu Fan in astonishment. Ah, I am used to drinking beer, and I feel bored in one sip. Brother Shuu, how do you feel about this wine? Lin Dekong asked with some dementia. Not bad. Shuu Fan looked Tsunere. I must drink enough. There are more and more black lines on Lin Dekong's head. Do you drink like this? Shuu Fan saw that Lin Dekong was about to lose his temper, so he quickly changed the topic. Senior brother Lin, last time I heard you say that every inner disciple has to complete a sect mission every month. What's going on? Lin Dekong put down his wine glass and said to Shuu Fan, "Oh, this is the sect's regulation. Didn't I have a jade card when I took you to register last time? It basically has records on it. You can take a look at it when you have time. Now that you asked, let me tell you." Quote, "Our Qianyuan sect is a small sect, there are no complicated sect rules. Usually, they don't force the disciples in the sect to do anything, relatively speaking, they are relatively free. But sect's position and its own strength are not strong, and it can't give two good benefits. Sect resources are scarce, and sometimes some spiritual herbs or materials from some demonic beasts are needed, and tasks will be issued in the mission hall. You have been in the inner sect for a few days, and you probably found a problem. In the inner sect, there is almost no one to see." Quote. Lin Dekong paused, picked up his wine glass, and took a sip, seeing Shuu Fan nodding in agreement. He continued, "Unlike the disciples of other sects, our Qianyuan sect is basically meditating and practicing penance, so you rarely see fellow sects in the inner sect. You mean that sect has issued tasks, but everyone is busy practicing, so no one accepts those tasks, right?" Shuu Fan asked. Lin Dekong glanced at Shuu Fan approvingly. "That's right, junior brother Chen is really smart. The task is released and no one accepts it, and the demonic beasts' materials and spiritual herbs needed by sect cannot be obtained. In addition, there are not many sect spirit stones, so it is even more unrealistic to purchase, so this is why the inner disciple must complete a task every month." Quote, "What if we don't finish it?" Shuu Fan asked. Lin Dekong replied, "If you exceed 3 times, you will be expelled from Qianyuanzong. This is a bit ruthless. It seems that it is very difficult to prostitute the low-level spirit stones for 50 yuan that month. Then sect won't introduce some incentives to encourage disciples to do tasks." Shuu Fan asked, "What you said is unrealistic. The sect is too small, there is no reward for it. Contribution points for tasks set by those large sects. Contribution points can be exchanged for spirit stones, cultivation technique, magical items and other regulations. Senior people have tried it a long time ago. In the end, it was found that it was not applicable to our Qianyuanzong." Quote. Shuu Fan thought about it for a moment, and felt that it was true. If it could be done like this, it might have been done like this a long time ago. It seems that this monthly task cannot be escaped. After talking about business, it's time to drink and chat. Fortunately, Lin Dekong only has 1 bottle of spirit fruit wine, otherwise, if Shuu Fan drinks like this, he will be bankrupt sooner or later. After staying in Lin Dekong Immortal Cave for more than an hour, Shuu Fan got up to leave. Before leaving, Lin Dekong told Shuu Fan that the Foundation establishment pill given to him by Shimon has already come down, and the closed-door training will start to hit the Foundation establishment realm tomorrow. Tell Shuu Fan to be careful in the inner sect and watch out for Wong Tiana's revenge. Shuu Fan nodded in agreement one by one. Haha, junior brother Shuu, when we see you next time, I'm afraid you will call me Uncle Lin. Lin Dekong sent Shuu Fan to the entrance of Immortal Cave, smiled heartily, and said loudly. Then junior brother congratulates senior Uncle Lin first. After Shuu Fan finished speaking, he showed a smile. After the two said goodbye, Shuu Fan went back the way he had come. Entering the mysterious space, I saw the spirit mouse staying quietly in the corner. Shuu Fan pondered for a while, and did not continue refining the qi refining pill. There are still 2 materials for refining qi refining pills in the mysterious space, but the qi refining pills refined by using spirit-seeking mice instead of snow foxes are really too poor. In Shuu Fan's view, this is a waste of material. At present, I still have more than 20 qi refining pills on my body, and it can last for a period of half a month, which is not unacceptable. Moreover, the monthly sect mission that I just learned from Lin Dekong. Maybe I can look for Snow Fox outside when I go out with the sect mission. After thinking about this clearly, he is not going to kill the spirit mouse. Little guy, it's your fate. Shuu Fan looked at the trembling spirit mouse and smiled. Of course, Shuu Fan is not going to release the spirit mouse out of the mysterious space, and letting this little beast stay in the mysterious space can also increase a little anger. The spirit mouse understood Shuu Fan's words, and made a gesture of bowing again, as if thanking Shuu Fan for not killing him. This made Shuu Fan feel surprised again, feeling in his heart how clever this beast is. Although it escaped the catastrophe, the spirit-seeking mouse was obviously still very scared, and only dared to stay in the corner, not daring to move around. Shuu Fan ignored the spirit mouse, took out the chi refining pill from the storage bag, swallowed it and meditated. Time passed by, and Shuu Fan practiced until the next day. Dantian's magic power is naturally rising, and cultivation base is advancing by leaps and bounds. According to this progress, I can advance to the 7th level of chi refining within a month. There was a satisfied look on Shuu Fan's face. As long as there are enough chi refining pills, the progress of own cultivation base will definitely not be slower than those of 5th rank. Shuu Fan got up and was about to leave the mysterious space. When he rolled his eyes, he saw the pile of materials for refining chi pills. His brows could not help but wrinkle. It's not good to leave it like this, the spiritual chi will definitely dissipate after a long time. The quality of the chi refining pills refined by then will definitely be much worse. Putting it in the storage bag will not work either. The storage bag can only be used for storage and cannot play the role of locking spiritual chi. But now I don't have a special box for storing elixir materials. After thinking for a while, an idea suddenly appeared in Shuu Fan's mind. Maybe I can plant them and make a medicine garden in the mysterious space. The ground of the mysterious space is also soil, but it is relatively hard. Just do it. Shuu Fan didn't hesitate, walked to the corner of the mysterious space, a small golden sword condensed in his hand, and the ground burst. Hack and hack. In a short while, a medicine garden with a length of more than 2 meters and a width of more than 1 meter was developed. Shuu Fan moved the pile of materials over and began to plant them carefully. At the time of half a stick of incense, all the spiritual herbs and medicinal herbs are planted. Shuu Fan squeezed the formula with one hand, cast the water polo, and sprinkled it towards the medicine garden. With the nourishment of the rain, those spiritual herbs and medicinal herbs are obviously much more energetic, which is quite different from Yunurbaji before. I hope you can survive. Shuu Fan looked at the medicinal herbs he planted with satisfaction. Then, he took out a bigu pill from his pocket and threw it to the spirit mouse sleeping soundly in the corner, and left the mysterious space. Appearing in the immortal cave, Shuu Fan tidied up his long hair and clothes, then walked out of the immortal cave and walked towards the mission hall inside the door. Perhaps it was because it was still too early, the entire task hall was empty, except for the person who was responsible for accepting the task. There were no other colleagues. Shuu Fan stopped at the entrance of the hall for a while, made a short identification, and then strode towards a window where, Mission Office, was written. When I came to the window, the people inside were bowing their heads and writing. Shuu Fan tapped lightly on the wooden window sill. Boom. The person in the window raised his head when he heard the voice. He was a middle-aged man. He glanced at Shuu Fan, meeting the students, and said in a cold tone, "What's the matter?" Shuu Fan frowned. What else could he do here besides accepting missions? Could it be that I came to chat with you? This brother, the younger brother, is here to receive the sect's monthly mission. Shuu Fan said. Bring the nameplate. The middle-aged man in charge of receiving the task still had a cold tone. Shuu Fan took out the nameplate from the storage bag and threw it over. The middle-aged man glanced at it, and then said, "Wait a moment." As he spoke, he picked up Shuu Fan's nameplate with his left hand, and took out a booklet from under the table with his right hand. I saw him holding Shuu Fan's nameplate and putting it on the booklet, and rows of numbers appeared on the booklet. After looking at it for a while, he said, "You are just getting started. Cultivation base is the 6th level of chi refining. Let me see if there is any task suitable for you. This happens to be a task here. The danger is not too difficult. I believe you can solve it." Oh, Shuu Fan's eyes lit up. What he needed was a mission with a low risk factor. I don't know what the mission is. I hope my brother will let me know. After finishing speaking, he took out 2 low-grade spirit stones from the storage bag and stuffed them straight through. The middle-aged man did not refuse, and his indifferent face turned into a smile. "Brother Shuu, Right, hee. Look, this quest talisman doesn't suit you. The middle-aged man took the 2 low-grade spirit stones with one hand, and handed the brochure to Shuu Fan for inspection with the other. Shuu Fan took the brochure, and saw it read, Sect D level task, 10 white ape guts are required. The task levels of Qianyuanzong are divided into A, B, C, D, and D is the lowest level task. It seems that the 2 low-grade spirit stones are not in vain, and they really work. The white ape is not far from Qianyuanzong, haunting Xuanyuan Temple about 300 miles away. The white ape's attack power is not strong, let alone its IQ, so it is very easy to deal with. Now that I have refined Qi to the 6th level and strengthened the Wuming sword art, I can basically do 2 swords and 1 sword to deal with these white apes. This task is very suitable for me. Shuu Fan nodded in satisfaction, and said, then I will thank you, senior brother, to accept this task for me. Hey, okay. Junior brother Shuu, please wait a moment, I'll help you get the task right now. I saw the middle-aged senior brother, holding Shuu Fan's nameplate, close to the booklet. Then he stretched out his finger and clicked on the nameplate a few times, a bright light from the booklet shot into Shuu Fan's nameplate, and then disappeared. It's alright, junior brother Shuu. The middle-aged man gave the nameplate back to Shuu Fan, and sat down again. Shuu Fan was overjoyed, this task was set. However, at this moment, a ray of light flashed and directly attacked the nameplate in Shuu Fan's hand. The light is condensed by magic power, without murderous intent, the purpose is the nameplate in Shuu Fan's hand. Quang! With a sound, the nameplate in Shuu Fan's hand broke in 2, and the light disappeared. Shuu Fan was furious, someone dared to provoke in the sect, he turned his head suddenly, looking at the attacking Own. It was a young man in his mid-20s, with a slender figure, long black hair, a slightly raised mouth, and 2 eyes. Deep and cold and arrogant, exuding a majestic aura around him. What surprised Shuu Fan was that he couldn't see the opponent's cultivation base. You attacked me, Shuu Fan asked coldly. Although cultivation base is not as good as the other party, it is reasonable and naturally it will not be a counselor. The man ignored Shuu Fan, but walked past him to the window to collect the task. The expression of the middle-aged man inside froze for a moment, and then forced a smile. Senior Brother Joe. The young man known as Senior Brother Joe still had a cold and arrogant look on his face. Did Sect release a mission to hunt 10 white ape guts? The corners of the middle-aged man's eyes twitched, and there was a sudden change in his heart. After thinking for a moment, he said, yes, but... Yes, that's fine, that task. I'll take it. Brother Joe roughly interrupted the middle-aged man. Shuu Fan narrowed his eyes, but didn't make a sound, quietly watching Senior Brother Joe's performance. Junior Brother Shuu has already received that task, so... The middle-aged man had a troubled look on his face. Isn't his nameplate broken? Just cancel it. Senior Brother Joe simply ignored the middle-aged man's rhetoric. Shuu Fan finally understood. This week the senior brother came to grab his mission, no wonder he smashed the own nameplate as soon as he came. Is this senior brother planning to steal my mission? Shuu Fan said in a flat tone. When the middle-aged man heard this, he was afraid that Shuu Fan would suffer, so he hurriedly scolded. Brother Shuu, don't be rude, this is Brother Joe Wong, Great Master, the grandson of the head, how can you talk to Senior Brother Joe like this? The implication is that the other party has a strong background, so just bear with it, it will pass soon anyway. Oh, so it's the 2nd generation. Shuu Fan was relieved, daring to be so arrogant, he really had a background. It's just that Shuu Fan has been hard-headed since he was a child, and he is not afraid of any 2nd generation. His eyes still stay on Zhou Guangzong, as if he doesn't want to talk to anyone. Stealing your mission. Zhou Guangzong acted as if he only noticed Shuu Fan at this moment. Turning his head and glanced up and down, with a contemptuous look on his brows, he sneered and said, you, how can a waste at the 6th level of Qi refining have the right to say that this senior brother robbed you of the task? Shuu Fan's eyes were fixed, and he suppressed his heart. The killing intent in the middle, still pretending to be calm, said. Hee, senior brother Joe knows that Shuu took over this task first. As he said that, Shuu Fan took a step forward, his tough attitude was not inferior to that of Zhou Guangzong. A murderous intent appeared in Zhou Guangzong's eyes, he took out a nameplate from his arms, handed it to the middle-aged man and said to Shuu Fan disdainfully. No, your nameplate is broken, even if you complete the task, you can't deliver it, so I'll help you with it. You, transfer the task to me. Quote, the second half of the sentence is obviously aimed at middle-aged people. It's a good plan, smash my nameplate first, and then I can justifiably transfer my mission to him. Ha ha, what a little beast. However, do you really think that I, Shuu Fan, are a soft persimmon at the mercy of others? The middle-aged man showed a look of embarrassment. If he transferred the task to Zhou Guangzong, he would definitely offend Shuu Fan. But it would be even more terrifying if he didn't transfer it, and he would directly offend the grandson of the head of the sect. For a while, he hesitated and was in a dilemma. What, do you have an opinion? Or are you deaf and can't hear me? Zhou Guangzong turned his head to the middle-aged deacon, a cold light suddenly appeared in his eyes, and a ferocious smile appeared on his face. No, dare not, senior brother Zhou is joking. The middle-aged man quickly waved his hand. If you offend the other party, I'm afraid I will be sad in the future. Although this junior brother Shuu in front of him is very proud, no matter how big his background is, he is no bigger than the head of the Qianyuan sect. Moreover, junior brother Shuu looked calm at this time, and he didn't intend to stop him, so he still transferred the task to Zhou Guangzong first. This can be regarded as calming down this conflict and letting the matter end quickly. Therefore, the middle-aged man hurriedly said, I will transfer the task to senior brother Zhou. After speaking, he didn't dare to hesitate any longer, and reached out to pick up Zhou Guangzong's nameplate. However, at this moment, Shuu Fan moved, raised his hand, and a golden sword chi popped out, grabbing the nameplate. Zhou Guangzong felt Shuu Fan's sharp sword chi, and it was too late to make a blocking action. Boom! There was a crisp sound. The nameplate in Zhou Guangzong's hand broke into several pieces and fell on the wooden board of the window sill. Use his own way to treat his own body. The middle-aged man was stunned and looked at Shuu Fan with wide eyes. Zhou Guangzong was furious, and turned his head to look at Shuu Fan. Trash. How dare you attack me? Hee, I'm sorry, senior brother Zhou, I did it on purpose. Shuu Fan is not afraid at all. Can you bully the earthlings who came through daddy? At first Zhou Guangzong shattered his nameplate, now Shuu Fan did the same and slapped the opponent hard. Court death. Zhou Guangzong was furious, the magic power in his body turned, and a strong aura emanated from his body, pressing towards Shuu Fan. Shuu Fan was not afraid at all, but said in a cold voice, Hee, this is Qianyuanzong, is senior brother Zhou trying to bully and kill junior brother? While speaking, he secretly operated the magic power in Dantian. If Zhou Guangzong shot at him regardless of the consequences, he would have to fight hard no matter what. Even if he can't beat him, he can still escape into the mysterious space. In short, he is invincible. Although Zhou Guangzong was arrogant and domineering, he was not stupid. He knew that if he took action against Shuu Fan, not only would he be punished, but even his own grandfather would be implicated. After all, there were not a few people in the entire Qianyuan sect who cared about the position of head. Okay, very good, what my brother did today will be remembered in my heart. Let's see. Quote, Zhou Guangzong said, yes, twice, then glanced at Shuu Fan with murderous eyes, and hummed coldly. He stretched out his palm and slapped the fragments of the nameplate that fell on the wooden board of the window sill into ashes. He glanced at the shivering middle-aged man with disdain, and then strode out of the Mission Great Hall. At this time, some disciples had already arrived at the Task Great Hall. When they saw this scene, they all showed shocked expressions and stood there blankly. Brother Zhou, who has always been arrogant and domineering, was taught a lesson by a kid who just started. Everyone felt incredible, as if in a dream. For a moment, everyone's eyes on Shuu Fan changed. There is worship, there is awe, and there is envy. In short, all of this shows that they think Shuu Fan is a cruel person. Shuu Fan is completely indifferent to what everyone thinks. Brother, are you okay? Shuu Fan, going forward to the windowsill, he asked the middle-aged brother who was in charge of receiving the task. No, it's okay. The middle-aged brother shook his head, then smiled helplessly. Brother Shuu, you are impulsive. Senior brother Zhou must report to Yazi. He is the grandson of the head of the sect. Your life in the inner sect will be difficult in the future. What's more, he is still a genius disciple at the 10th level of Qi refining. He is only 24 years old, and the foundation establishment is already in sight. For a mission, it's not worth it. Quote. After speaking, he looked at Shuu Fan with regret, as if he saw his miserable life in the future. Shuu Fan smiled slightly, but did not explain. I didn't know Zhou Guangzong before that. This second generation with a deep background, as soon as he entered the mission Great Hall, he directly attacked the own nameplate without saying a word, obviously targeting himself. The purpose is not to grab this task, but to target yourself. Such a simple thing can't be missed even with a little brain. Since he came to find fault, even if he swallowed his anger, the other party would definitely find other reasons. So, it might as well be a positive wave. Anyway, Zhou Guangzong can't do anything to him in the bright face, so he just needs to be more careful not to be sniped in the future. The only depressing thing is that I don't know why Zhou Guangzong targeted himself this week. After thinking for a while, entering the inner sect, I have no grudges with anyone. Even in the outer sect, only Wang Tiana was offended. Could it be Wang Tiana again? Is Zhou Guangzong taking the lead for Wuyu? Thinking about it this way, the possibility is really high. Forget it, it's useless to think about these things, the big deal is to hide in the mysterious space. While Shuu Fan was thinking, the middle-aged brother whispered to Shuu Fan. Brother Shuu, you don't know that senior brother Zhou is the first genius of our Qianyuan sect, a genius disciple who possesses innate supernatural powers at the top of the 5th rank, and he is also the next heir to the head of the sect. Root bone 5th rank peak. Born with magical powers. What is this? Shuu Fan didn't care whether Zhou Guangzong was the next heir to the head, but instead focused on the innate supernatural powers. Before he could ask a question, the middle-aged senior brother said, although I don't know what senior brother Zhou's talent is. But it must be great. Quote, what is talent supernatural power? With full of doubts, Shuu Fan asked. However, the middle-aged senior brother shook his head, I don't know the details, I just listened to what my fellow seniors said. It seems that this middle-aged brother is also a member of 8 trigrams. Shuu Fan didn't continue to ask, but he firmly remembered these. He brought the topic back to the mission. Brother, my nameplate is broken, so how can I continue with this mission? Although your nameplate is broken, it does not affect the tasks you have already accepted. The task has not been transferred to Brother Zhou's name just now, so this task is still under your name. The middle-aged brother explained. After a pause, he continued. However, junior brother has to reapply for a nameplate when delivering the task, otherwise the task will not be delivered. Oh, so that's the case, then brother, please help me make a new nameplate. Shuu Fan said. The middle-aged senior brother understood what Shuu Fan meant. With a look of surprise on his face, he persuaded with some worry, Brother Shuu, I can find another simple task for you, and you don't have to hold on to this task, why not? Shuu Fan naturally understood the other party's kindness. But since it's just been a wave, now you admit it. Isn't it very have no face? I, Shuu Fan, a man of 7 feet, am afraid of you as a second generation. Therefore, I must be just to the end. No, just this one. Save the trouble for senior brother. There was a faint smile on the corner of Shuu Fan's mouth. The middle-aged senior brother frowned. Hey. This junior brother Shuu is really a stunned young man who has never been beaten by the second generation. But seeing Shuu Fan's firm will, he had no choice but to nod. Since Brother Shuu has made up his mind, he will stop persuading you as a senior brother, but senior brother can't help you to reissue the identity plate. You still need to go to the miscellaneous hall next door to make up for it. Okay, thank you senior brother, if you dare to ask senior brother his name, there will be rewards in the future. Shuu Fan cupped his hands and saluted. This middle-aged man was always thinking of him. For such a kind-hearted person, write down the name of the other party. If you have a chance in the future, you can't repay him too much. Huang Zhang. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.